Chapter 420, Many Years of Red Moles. The show is really good to watch. _6. An Yang saw Mo Baichuan, and of course Mo Baichuan saw An Yang as well. In fact, from the moment An Yang entered the shop, Mo Baichuan had noticed her. The only reason he appeared so calm was to imply that he no longer cared about her. No matter what An Yang did, he would not even bother to take an extra glance at her. He was going to make her beg him for mercy. How long could she last under his complete indifference? Mo Baichuan picked up a napkin and wiped the corners of his mouth, a mocking glint flashing in his eyes. An Yang was just about to enter the restroom when she heard the faint murmur of conversation. The voices were too familiar, which made her halt unconsciously. Xianxia, stop right there. It was Xianxia's voice. Xianxia turned around and said disdainfully, "Who do you think you are? Why should I stop just because you told me to?" Xianxia, Xianxia stared at Xianxia, speaking in a chilly tone. "I've known Brother Baichuan for 23 years. We were childhood friends. If you have any sense, you would stay away from Brother Baichuan, or else all your efforts will be wasted." She had grown up with Mo Baichuan. If she hadn't bet on the wrong person previously, she wouldn't have given this vile woman, Xianxia, a chance to take advantage. Xianxia was full of regret. She had been so foolish to believe that Mo Chishan was Mr. Mog. Xianxia chuckled and said, "I'm sorry, but I am currently Baichuan's girlfriend." Xianxia, what gives you the right to tell me this? Do you have any sense of shame left for wanting to snatch someone else's boyfriend? Xianxia was disgusting. How could she dare to provoke her, the legitimate girlfriend, so openly? "I have no shame?" Xianxia, visibly trembling with anger, pointed at Xianxia and said, "When I got to know Brother Baichuan, you were nowhere to be seen. The shameless one here is you. You stole my Brother Baichuan. You cheeky vile woman." Xianxia responded with a broad smile, seemingly unaffected. "I could steal Baichuan away because Baichuan loves me. Why don't you ask Baichuan if he loves you? Xianxia, aren't you ashamed of yourself? Has your mother never taught you how to be a decent person, and only taught you how to snatch men? It would be such a waste for someone like you not to be a hooker." Her last words were clearly provocative. A hooker? What is a hooker? In Guangguan, a hooker is another name for a prostitute. Xianxia had the audacity to call her that. Xianxia wished she could bite Xianxia to death. Why wouldn't this vile woman just drop dead? But Xianxia was not afraid of Xianxia. To Xianxia, the most she could become was a wealthy second-generation brat. Moreover, she wasn't even a legitimate descendant of the Zheng family. The day the old Madame Zheng loses her temper, she would become nothing. She wasn't worth fearing at all. Moreover, Mo Baichuan was Mr. Mog. One Zheng family, let alone 100, would mean nothing in front of Mo Baichuan. "Bitch. Don't get cocky too soon." Xianxia's voice was distorted with rage. "Bastard," Xianxia snorted dismissively. "Rest assured, I'll definitely keep riding on my high horse." "Bastard." Xianxia was close to blowing a fuse. Xianxia actually had the audacity to call her a bastard. Watching Xianxia, Xianxia added fuel to the fire. "What are you staring at me for? Are you upset because I called you a bastard? If you're unhappy, why don't you come hit me? Right here?" Xianxia pointed at her own face, closing in on Xianxia step by step. Xianxia genuinely didn't dare to hit her. Because she knew Xianxia was purposely provoking her. Xianxia wanted Mo Baichuan to dislike her. She would never let this vile woman have her way. Just wait. The day would come when she would get her revenge. Xianxia clenched her fists, a malicious light lurking in the depths of her eyes. Xianxia continued tauntingly, "Xianxia, your mother Zheng Lingling is nothing but an adopted daughter of the Zheng family. I really don't understand what you're feeling so superior about. As an adopted child, you should know your place. Otherwise, if you upset Madame Zheng one day, she may kick both you and your mother out, and then, you'd be absolutely nothing." Xianxia looked up at Xianxia and said word by word, "You cheap thing, remember what you said today." Xianxia chuckled, "Of course I remember. You've just hit a wall and you can't fight back. I'm not scared in the slightest." Xianxia shot a fierce glance at Xianxia before striding out of the restroom, Xianxia hot on her heels. Once the pair had left, An Yang emerged from behind the bathroom door, a faint smile playing on her lips. She had to admit the information she had gathered today was quite something. Before today she had thought that Xianxia and Xianxia were two peas in a pod. Now it turns out there's bad blood between them behind closed doors. And it's such an exciting confrontation that An Yang almost felt like applauding them. From the look of things, It seems like Xianxia had already lost the battle. So, she decided to give her a hand. A sly smile graced Yang's lips. The plot was certainly getting more and more intriguing. She loved to see the dog-eat-dog world of others. Mo Baichuan was so vain and sentimental that if she personally got involved, he would surely think she was doing it for him. However, if Zheng Xianjing made a move, things would be completely different. That would simply be a win-win situation. When she came out of the restroom, Yang passed by Mo Baichuan again. Mo Baichuan and Li Xianxian were sitting together. Across from them was Zheng Xianjing. To Yang's surprise, Li Xianxian and Zheng Xianjing looked as if they hadn't had a fight, acting all sisterly towards each other. Seeing this, Yang again felt the urge to applaud the two best actresses. How was it possible to act that well? Being so busy with their own drama, the two best actresses didn't notice Yang. But Mo Baichuan glanced subtly in her direction. Seeing Yang approaching, Mo Baichuan immediately picked up a piece of sashimi for Li Xianxian. Li Xianxian smiled and said, "Baichuan, Sister Xianjing is our guest. We should let her have this piece of sashimi. After all, it's the last piece left on the plate." After saying that, Li Xianxian transferred the piece of sashimi in her bowl to Zheng Xianjing's. Zheng Xianjing looked at the sashimi in the bowl, gritting her teeth in anger, but forced herself to swallow it. Li Xianxian was openly provoking her. Her meaning was clear. Only the things she didn't want would be passed on to her, just like the piece of sashimi. Zheng Xianjing said with a smile, "Thank you, Sister Xianxian. Brother Baichuan, there's a movie this afternoon. Why don't we three go and watch it together?" Li Xianxian is enjoying this, is she? Well, she'd make sure Li Xianxian had a miserable time. Mo Baichuan glanced at Li Xianxian and pretended to dote on her. "This is up to Xianxian." Li Xianxian gasped in surprise, then said, "I've also looked at this afternoon's movie schedule. It doesn't seem like there is anything interesting to watch." Mo Baichuan obliged her by saying, "Then we won't go." Li Xianxian looked triumphantly at Zheng Xianjing. Zheng Xianjing grimaced, "Cheap thing, don't rejoice too soon." Yang sat down at the dining table with a broad smile on her face. Little Yun greeted her excitedly. Tsuehua wondered, "Yang, what good news have you come across? You have such a huge smile on your face." Chapter 421, Buying a Restaurant, A Promising Future _1. Yang was indeed laughing very heartily. How could she not be happy after watching such a drama unfold? But in Mo Baichuan's eyes, her laughter seemed forced. Because throughout the whole situation, he didn't even spare an extra glance at Yang. He treated Li Xianxian so well, and Yang must surely feel jealous. But she also desired his attention, so she was forced to put on a brave face. Thinking of this, Mo Baichuan reached out and put another piece of sushi in Li Xianxian's bowl, knowing that this would surely provoke Yang. Li Xianxian blushed slightly. "Thank you, Baichuan." Zheng Xianjing felt a mixture of emotions in her heart. It was overwhelming. If Li Xianxian hadn't butted in, the person accompanying Mo Baichuan right now would surely be her. How dare Li Xianxian, this wretched woman, act so arrogantly here? Oh, she must win back Mo Baichuan. Definitely. A nefarious glimmer surfaced in Zheng Xianjing's downcast eyes, but she maintained a soft smile on her face. "Mom, guess what I saw earlier?" Yang asked Tsuehua. "What did you see?" Tsuehua curiously asked. Yang took a bite of her dessert. "I saw two dogs fighting." Tsuehua gasped. "There's nothing unusual about that, dogs fight all the time. I see it every day in the village." Yang just kept smiling, saying nothing. When they were almost done eating, Yang called the waiter to pay the bill. "Miss, that would be 318 yuan in total," the waiter announced. "All right." Yang handed over the money. Spending 318 yuan on a single meal, which equates to a common wage earner's 10-month salary, would have previously made Tsuehua feel distressed. But now Tsuehua had grown accustomed to it. As they earned more money, they encountered different things, their living standards increased and their perspectives widened accordingly. "Little Yun, come to sister." Yang gestured toward little Yun. "Sister." Little Yun extended her arms. Yang picked up little Yun, and Tsuehua picked up her bag, following in Yang's footsteps. Mo Baichuan's gaze unintentionally swept toward Yang's side and discovered that her seat was already vacated. There was a mocking glint in his eyes. So, Yang couldn't sit still anymore, could she? Mo Baichuan subtly withdrew his gaze, turned to Li Xianxian. "Finished eating? Let's head back once we're done." "Okay," Li Xianxian nodded gently. Zheng Xianjing followed up. "Brother Baichuan, where are we going this afternoon?" Just as Li Xianxian thought that Mo Baichuan would certainly ask for her opinion, he responded, "You guys can go out this afternoon, I have other matters to attend to." He had already provoked Yang, so naturally there was no need to keep up the act with Li Xianxian. Li Xianxian was momentarily stunned, then wisely said, "Work is important, Baichuan, you go ahead." It seems that Mo Baichuan doesn't like Li Xianxian as much as she thought. Zheng Xianjing quickly seized the opportunity. "Brother Baichuan, I also have things to do this afternoon, could you drop me off on your way?" "Sure," Mo Baichuan nodded. He and Zheng Xianjing grew up together, their relationship was like siblings, so giving her a lift was completely normal. "Thank you, Brother Baichuan." Zheng Xianjing stood up. "Xianxian, we're leaving first." The word "we" sounded particularly irritating to Li Xianxian. How cunning of Zheng Xianjing. Li Xianxian replied with a smile, "Baichuan, make sure to safely take Xianjing home." Mo Baichuan nodded in agreement. Zheng Xianjing gleefully clung to Mo Baichuan's arm. "Brother Baichuan, let's go." Looking at their departing figures, a simmering rage flashed in Li Xianxian's eyes, as if she were about to burn Zheng Xianjing to ashes. It seems the plan needs to be accelerated. She must have a child to tether Mo Baichuan tightly to her. Yang was out shopping with Enai Tsuehua, carrying little Enai Yun in her arms. As they passed by a handbag shop, Yang suggested, "Mom, let's go buy a bag." Enai Tsuehua was still using a bag made from scraps of fabric. "I have a bag, we don't need to waste money," Enai Tsuehua refused. Yang laughed and replied, "Let's buy one, it's not that expensive. We spent over 300 yuan on our meal, what's a bag compared to that?" Enai Tsuehua hesitated for a moment before finally accompanying Yang into the store. At that time, big brands like LV, Versace, Gucci, and Bulgari hadn't yet penetrated the domestic market, so all the bags sold in the store were locally produced, with tube bags being the most popular. Conveniently hung on the handlebars of a bicycle, tube bags were both stylish and practical. Chapter 422. Buying a Restaurant, A Promising Future _2. Yang picked out two bag styles, one in a cylindrical design and another lattice bag. The cylindrical one was for Enai Tsuehua, and the lattice handbag was for herself. Enai Tsuehua did need to carry many things when going out with the kids, so a cylindrical bag would be more convenient for her. The two bags cost 30 yuan. After buying the bags, Yang said, "Mom, let's go buy a bicycle." Enai Tsuehua replied, "Why buy a bicycle? We already have one at home, don't we?" Yang continued, "The bicycle is for you to ride, Mom. It'll make things more convenient for you when you're out." Enai Tsuehua always had to walk to the edge of the village and take the bus to get to the city, which took a lot of time. "No need," Enai Tsuehua refused. "I hardly go out anyway. Besides, Yun is still too little to sit on her own. Even if there were a bike, I couldn't ride it. Let's buy one anyway. Then we'll install a child seat on the back. Yun can sit there." Convinced by these words, Enai Tsuehua decided to follow Yang and buy a bicycle. A Phoenix brand bicycle was 275 yuan. Adding a child seat, the total cost was 280 yuan. The child seat available at the time was made of woven bamboo. It was completely natural and non-polluting and was very cool to sit on in the summer. As soon as she sat on the child seat, little Enai Yun started laughing joyously. Mother and daughter were walking forward while pushing the bicycle along. When passing by a bustling commercial street, they saw a group of people discussing something. "Is this restaurant about to close down? The transfer fee is 2,800 yuan? No wait. 1,010? 10,000? 48,000? Gosh, am I hallucinating? They're only selling an empty shell and still want 38,000, has the boss gone mad? Whoever buys it is an idiot. Even 2008 is too much." Yang backtracked quietly when she heard these remarks, and looked at a red notice with black letters pasted on the wall. The gist of the notice was that the restaurant was facing closure due to poor management. Now, they wanted to transfer ownership. The transfer fee, together with the restaurant's property rights, was being offered for sale at 48,000 yuan. It was a 3-story small restaurant with over 1,500 square meters. 48,000 yuan was not expensive. Moreover, considering the location, it would not cost less than several hundred million yuan in the future. For a moment, Yang was tempted. After all, she used to be in the catering industry in her previous life. "Mom, what do you think about this restaurant?" Enai Tsuehua shook her head. "Not good, it's about to go bankrupt." Yang smiled. "Mom, when assessing a situation we can't just look at the surface. There are many reasons why a restaurant might go bankrupt. It could be due to poor management, or it could be a problem with the taste of the food. I think the location here is good, and if it's well managed and the food tastes good, we don't have to worry about there being no business. Since it's a restaurant, the taste certainly plays a key role. As long as the taste is good and the service is up to standard, there should be no problem. In this era, people's sense of service and being served isn't strongly developed. If they can train a team to provide quality service, like Haidaleo in the future, they can certainly stand out in this industry. As a mother knows her daughter best, Enai Tsuehua quickly grasped Enai Yang's intentions. Yang, you're not thinking of buying this restaurant, are you? Yes, Enai Yang nodded. Enai Tsuehua said, that's 480,000. It's a lot more than just a few hundred or a few thousand. Yang, think it through. Enai Yang replied, Mom, I've thought it through. I want to buy it. If she bought the restaurant, even if she didn't run it, she wouldn't lose anything just leaving it as it was. On the contrary, she would make a fortune. Of course, Enai Yang wanted to buy it. What's more, Enai Yang was confident she could turn the business around. This way she could make money and see her asset appreciate. It was like hitting two birds with one stone. 480,000 was a large sum for Enai Tsuehua. She expressed some concern and said, Yang, do we really have that much money? Even though she knew the milk tea shop, noodle restaurant and skincare shop were all very profitable and making good money, Enai Tsuehua had not actually worked out the figures. She did not know just how much money Enai Yang had. Enai Yang patted Enai Kuihua's hand. You don't need to worry about the money. Enai Tsuehua continued, Yang, the restaurant owner couldn't even make a profit before going bankrupt. Are you sure you will succeed if you take over? This is 480,000, not 48, or 4,800. Yang, our noodle restaurant, milk tea shop and skincare shop have done very well, maybe we should not bother with anything else? As the old saying goes, don't fuss over trifles and you won't end up poor. We should live a steady life. We have enough money, we just need to have enough to spend. I'm content with the life we have. Chapter 423, Buying a Restaurant, A Promising Future _3. Perhaps it was because she had suffered many hardships in the first half of her life, but Enai Tsuehua now had no great ambitions and was very content with her current situation. Mom, said Enai Yen, a life without dreams is a life without purpose. I may be a commoner without grand dreams, but I just want to become a female tycoon and prove to the world that there's no difference between men and women. As long as one is willing to work hard, a girl can also make a name for herself. Enai Tsuehua herself had lived a painful early life due to a cultural bias preferring boys over girls. So every time Enai Yen made such a declaration, she felt a deep resonance. Girls are no different than boys, they are not handicapped or deficient in any way. Why should they receive unequal treatment? Enai Tsuehua continued, I understand the principle you're talking about, but 480,000 yuan is no small sum. I hope you'll consider carefully. Enai Yen nodded her head. Don't worry, Mom. I never take on anything if I'm not confident about it, and I never do loss-making businesses. All right. Enai Tsuehua continued, you go and have a good talk with them then. I'll take Yunyun and go check on our noodle restaurant. Enai Yen was going in to discuss business. Having her child with her might be somewhat distracting, and Enai Tsuehua was not a woman without sense. Enai Yen nodded slightly. He'll come to the noodle restaurant as soon as I'm done here. Enai Tsuehua mounted her bike and left with little Enai Yun. Instead of going straight into the restaurant, Enai Yen hailed a taxi. Sir, could you take me to the agricultural bank? At this point in time, taxis were a luxury, used only by a minority of people. Even Benz cars with 3 rows of seats were used as taxis. By the early 1990s, it was the heyday of cars with vanity plates and economy models. All right. The cab driver was a very talkative man. Young lady, you don't look like you're from around here. Enai Yen nodded slightly. I'm from Haicheng. Haicheng is more than 1,000 kilometers from Beijing, isn't it? Enai Yen said, about 1,200 kilometers or so. I've been to Haicheng before. Everything is good, but the preference for sons over daughters is too severe. The driver continued, which part of Haicheng are you from? Dam village, Enai Yen answered truthfully. Oh. The driver nodded, a strange look flashed in his eyes and he fell silent. In a short time, they arrived at the entrance of the agricultural bank. In order not to worry about finding a taxi later, Enai Yen looked at the plate on the dashboard and said, Mr. Su, would you mind waiting here for me? I'll be back shortly. I'm willing to pay extra. If she was willing to pay extra, what reason did he have to refuse? Mr. Su nodded, sure, I'll wait for you here. Thank you, Mr. Su. And Ai Yen pulled out a yuan and handed it to him. She entered the bank and requested a check from the teller. Though checks didn't become universally accepted until 2006, in Beijing in the 1980s, people could already issue checks with unlimited amounts. These checks, however, could only be used within Beijing and not elsewhere. When she exited, Mr. Su was still waiting at the door. And Ai Yen opened the car door and got inside. Mr. Su asked, "Young lady, where would you like to go now?" And Ai Yen answered, "Back to the place we just came from." "All right," Mr. Su said as he started the engine and started to engage her in casual conversation. "You're quite attractive, young lady. Do you have a boyfriend? If not, I could introduce you to someone." And Ai Yen replied politely, "Thank you for the offer, but I already have a boyfriend." "Oh, that's a shame. The young man I was going to suggest to you, his family is quite well off. By the way, do you have any sisters at home?" "I have one younger sister who's 11 months old." "Just one sister?" Mr. Su asked. And Ai Yen nodded, not saying much. Mr. Su glanced at Ai Yen through the rearview mirror, a look of surprise flashing across his eyes. He didn't say anything else. Shortly, the car arrived at the entrance of the restaurant. Ai Yen stepped out of the car and entered the restaurant. Watching Ai Yen's receding figure, Mr. Su had a complex expression on his face. After a moment, he drove off. Although the restaurant was in the process of being sold, it was still in business. The waiters inside weren't very enthusiastic. Seeing Ai Yen walk in, none of them even bothered to greet her. Ai Yen walked up to one of them and asked, "Hello, is your boss around?" The waiter responded with indifference, "Our boss is in the private room on the 3rd floor. Chapter 424. Buying a Restaurant, A Promising Future _4. Ai Yang wasn't angry and she said, "Could you take me there?" "Follow me." The waiter strode forward. The two of them arrived at a private room on the 3rd floor. Just as he knocked on the door, a smile appeared on the waiter's face. "Boss. What can I do for you?" The restaurant owner appeared to be a young man in his 20s. "This lady is looking for you." The waiter took a step back. "Hello," Ai Yang spoke softly. At the sight of Ai Yang, the young man blinked, then said, "Hello." As Ai Yang walked in, she said, "I'm here to discuss the sale of your restaurant." At that, the young man seemed taken aback. Ai Yang was thin and young. Although she was quite pretty, she didn't fit the image of a rich person. In this day and age, most of the rich were somewhat overweight. Rich people could afford to eat meat, their bellies were plump, so naturally they were fat. Someone like Ai Yang, clearly, looked like an ordinary person who couldn't even afford meat. How could she afford to buy a restaurant? The man expressed his doubts. Ai Yang knew he had apprehensions. After all, she was quite young. "This is a check." Ai Yang placed a check on the table. Seeing the check for 480,000, the man expressed his confusion. "Are you sure you're serious?" The young man had seen the world and knew full well that the check wasn't fake. Ai Yang smiled calmly. "Does it look like I'm joking?" Even though she was smiling, there was not a shred of joking in her words. She didn't act like a 17-year-old girl, but more like someone who had faced trials and tribulations. The young man sobered up, stood up and pulled out a chair. "Please have a seat." "Thank you." Ai Yang sat down gracefully. "Let me introduce myself. I'm Ai Yang, you can just call me Xiaoni, and I will be taking over your restaurant." The young man said, "Nice to meet you, Miss Ai. My name is Chen Jitsong." Chen Jitsong was 27 and a returned international student who embraced new ideas and was educated in the ways of modern schooling with no prejudice against small business owners. He studied hotel management abroad, considering his professional knowledge comprehensive. In school, he was an outstanding student, so his confidence in owning a restaurant and soaring in the industry was high. However, theoretical knowledge and practical experience turned out to be quite different. The restaurant had lost hundreds of thousands within a year. Chen Zikang's initial enthusiasm had turned into general despair. His family stopped funding the restaurant, so he had to sell it and return home to take over the family business. Ai Yang went straight to the point. "Mr. Chen, if there aren't any issues, we can sign the contract and settle formalities now." Chen Jitsong seemed slightly nervous. "Does your family know about this?" The restaurant had continuously been in losses. He didn't want to deceive a minor. Ai Yang said with a smile, "Don't worry, Mr. Chen. I'm of age. The contracts I sign are legally binding. If you're worried about the check, I can go to the bank with you for verification." Chen Jitsong continued, "Do you know that my restaurant has been in the red the whole time?" Ai Yang responded coolly, "I know." Qin Jitsang was somewhat surprised. You know, and you're still willing to buy it? And Yang wasn't the first person who wanted to buy the restaurant. Before her there had been at least 20 other people. But the first thing they did was slash the asking price. The 480,000 priced restaurant was immediately brought down to just over 100,000. However, Yang didn't seem to have any intention of negotiation. This was strange. Yang was blunt. I'm confident I can make it popular. Qin Jitsang laughed. I was just as ambitious when I started. After that, he posted a lease transfer notice. It was a sad recollection. Having had such a failed venture, Qin Jitsang had no desire to start over. He was better off inheriting the family business. Yang asked instead, So Mr. Qin, are you not willing to sell now? No, it's not that, Qin Jitsang continued. I just think you're rather strange. By the way, which family from Beijing do you belong to? How come I've never seen you before? Seeing Yang's indifference towards the 480,000, Qin Jitsang subconsciously thought she was from a well-off family. Chapter 425. Buying a Restaurant, A Promising Future _5. It was odd that Qin Jihao, who had met nearly all the socialites in Beijing the day he returned to the country, had never encountered Yang. Yang was so attractive, if he had met her, it would be impossible to forget. Yang said, I'm not from your circle. Upon hearing this, Qin Jitsang said with a surprised face, Then how come you're so wealthy? Yang gave a faint smile. Mr. Qin, do you still want to sell your restaurant? Qin Jitsang, realizing his rudeness, hurriedly said, Sell, let me grab the contract. And then we can go to the Bureau of Industry and Commerce together. Yang nodded. Qin Jitsang took the contract and pushed it towards Yang. Yang picked up the contract without rushing to sign, but read swiftly as the turning pages rustled in the air. She was reading so quickly that Qin Jitsang thought she was just posing. Just like some young girls who like to pretend they understand when they don't, acting like they are mature. Isn't something off here? Yang set down the contract, pointing to a clause. What's the problem? Qin Jitsang asked. Yang continued, It should specify here that the restaurant is not just being leased, it's being sold along with its property rights. Otherwise this could easily lead to disputes later. Let me see. Hearing this, Qin Jitsang also took the contract and started to read it carefully. After a moment, he nodded and said, I apologize, Miss Ni. This is indeed an issue, he'll contact the lawyer to make adjustments. After the lawyer drafted the contract, Qin Jitsang also took a look, but he didn't notice the problem. He didn't expect that Yang would spot the issue immediately. This girl was not to be underestimated. Qin Jitsang was secretly surprised. Yang picked up her pen and marked the problematic area. She then said, Don't rush to amend it, let me read it again. Okay. Qin Jitsang looked at Yang again, his eyes filled with a hint of admiration. When she was reading the contract, her eyebrows frowned in concentration, her lips pressed together, her appearance was extremely attractive. No wonder they say that people are most attractive when they are serious. Qin Jitsang had seen many beautiful women at home and abroad, but he had never encountered someone like Yang. Her beauty was beyond words, yet it was breathtaking. During the process of reviewing the contract, Yang pointed out a few more issues. The issues seemed small, but upon careful inspection, they were quite troublesome. Suppressing the shock in his heart, Qin Jitsang said, We won't have time to sign the contract today. I will have the lawyer revise these issues when I go back. Let's plan to meet tomorrow afternoon. Okay. Yang nodded, See you tomorrow afternoon. Would Miss Ni like to take a tour of the restaurant? Qin Jitsang asked. Yang smiled subtly, I'd be delighted. This way please. Qin Jitsang led the way. Following Qin Jitsang from the restaurant's kitchen to the front hall, Yang roughly understood why Qin Jitsang was losing money. It was because Qin Jitsang failed to bring out the special features of the restaurant and his management was too by the book. The chefs he hired were all experts in making local Beijing cuisine. Beijing dwellers were tired of local dishes, and with the staff lacking service skills, business wouldn't be great. After a tour of the restaurant with Qin Jitsang, Yang said her goodbyes. Qin Jitsang walked Yang to the door. Miss Ni, let's meet again tomorrow afternoon. Okay. Yang nodded. Goodbye, Mr. Qin. Goodbye. Watching Yang's retreating figure, Qin Jitsang felt an unease in his long-settled heart, as if it had been hit by a lost deer. He hadn't felt this impulsive for many years. He suddenly felt thankful for his decision to return from studying abroad and to open a restaurant. Had he not opened a restaurant, he wouldn't have made a loss, and consequently he wouldn't have met Yang. Upon arriving at the noodle restaurant, Tsuehua asked, Yang, how did your business negotiation go? Yang replied, it's essentially settled. They'll be making the payment and discussing the contract tomorrow. Tsuehua nodded, now that you've made a decision, I won't say much. As long as you know what you're doing. Yang slipped her arm through Quihua's. Mom, don't worry. I will make sure our lives get better. In the evening, Yang and Tsuehua cycled back to Jianghu village. The first thing Yang did when she got home was to feed the mina with bugs. Chapter 426. Buying a Restaurant, A Promising Future _6. The little guy hadn't eaten anything all day, so when he saw Yang coming, he couldn't help but open his mouth eagerly. Duo. Yang fed it while calling the little guy's name. After feeding nearly 10 worms, the little one couldn't eat anymore, so it just kept its pair of glossy and round little eyes fixated on Yang. Believing that good education starts from young, Yang began to repetitively greet the little one by saying how. Not sure whether the little bird understood or not, it clacked its beak after a while, then tucked its head under its wings. Yang. Quihua's voice came from the kitchen. Coming. Yang stroked the little bird's sparse feathers, and then went for the kitchen. Yang, how do you make those spicy strips? Can you teach me? Of course. Yang nodded and began to teach her step by step. Making spicy strips isn't actually difficult. The most important things are mastering the oil chilies and timing for dough raising. Tsuehua is intelligent, she could already replicate the process after one teaching. The following day, around 1 in the afternoon, Yang arrived at the restaurant as promised. Qin Jitsang had been waiting for quite some time. When he saw Yang coming, his eyes lit up. Miss Mr. Qin. Yang nodded slightly in greeting. Qin Jitsang presented a contract to Yang. After Yang reviewed it and confirmed that there were no issues, she signed it. Miss your penmanship is quite good. Qin Jitsang praised genuinely. Thank you. After the contract was signed, they went to the agency to handle various transfer procedures and to register the property. By the time all the procedures were complete, it was evening. The golden sunshine covered the earth. Qin Jitsang handed all the keys of the restaurant to Yang. Miss I wish you a thriving business with abundant sources of wealth. Thank you. Yang took the keys, wishing you two to find light amidst the darkness, and a future full of promise. Yang didn't intend to continue serving traditional dishes, nor did she plan to maintain the decor of the restaurant, but there were still quite a lot of supplies left in the restaurant, such as grain, oil, semi-finished dishes, meat, etc. Qin Jitsang, having done business for the first time without any experience, had about 10,000 yuan's worth of supplies in stock. It would be a waste just to leave them sitting there, and they wouldn't be eaten up in a short time, so Yang decided to give them away. She decided to give them to the homeless and impoverished families. There were 50+ waiters and 20 chefs still living in the restaurant. Yang paid everyone 2 yuan per day, asking for their help in distributing these items. There is a road in Beijing called Walt Road. The road is home to homeless people and impoverished families. Few lived on this road. Yang led everyone to Walt Road, going door to door handing out food. The standard for each house was 10 kilograms of rice, 1 jar of oil, 2 kilograms of pork, and some vegetables plus semi-finished vegetables. In those days people seldom had meat. When they received these supplies, everyone was extremely excited. It was no different from manna from heaven. Thank you, kind people, thank you, good people. In particular, there was an old woman who hadn't had meat for years. She tearfully accompanied Yang a long way, her eyes filled with tears. Those who never personally experienced that time would never understand the feeling of not having tasted the flavor of meat for years. Upon leaving the old woman's home, Yang brought more supplies to Fua's yard. Just as she walked into the yard, she saw a group of children surrounding and beating Fua. They were all children around 7 or 8 years old. Some were even just 3 or 4 years old. But the words coming out of their mouths were simply unbearable to hear, especially disgusting. Even Yang had never heard some of them before. They were probably cursing at Fua as a bastard without a mother. Yang frowned slightly, raising her voice. Who is bullying our Fua? Hearing this, all the children turned towards Yang. In that moment, Fua seemed to see the sun, his eyes filled with light. Sister. Yang walked over, picked up one of the children who was bullying Fua the most brutally, and started spanking him. For the first time in his life, Fua felt the feeling of being defended. The mischievous child started crying loudly. The other children immediately ran off to tattle. It wasn't long before a woman walked into the yard, spitting curses. "Which shameless beast is bullying our child?" Yang looked at the woman, responding with a cold voice, "Raising a child who curses and hits people, that is the real shameless animal." The woman was just about to retort, but upon clearly seeing Yang's face, she immediately changed her attitude. "Good person, it's you. We are really sorry, our child doesn't know any better, it's our fault that he hit Fua." Xuanzi quickly apologized to the good person and Fua. The naughty child refused to apologize, stubbornly said, "I will not. He is a bastard." The woman raised her hand and slapped Xuanzi hard across the face. "Apologize." Crying, Xuanzi apologized to Fua, promising that he would never bully Fua again. Xuanzi's mother also emphasized over and over that she will discipline Xuanzi in the future. Yang was not the type to hold a grudge when she was in the right. Upon seeing the mother and son like this, she decided to let it go. After this incident, Fua's friends all knew that Fua had a very formidable sister. No one dared to bully him anymore. Taking the opportunity of delivering food to Fua, Yang also performed a checkup for Zhou Tianbao. She found that he was recovering particularly well. In a few more days he would be able to remove the stick from his leg and walk. The base. There weren't many classes during this period, so Xianxia returned to Mo Baichuan's side and continued to work as his assistant. Even though they were in a romantic relationship, apart from some public occasions, Mo Baichuan did not make any intimate moves toward Xianxia, not even a simple kiss or hug. Sometimes, Mo Baichuan would be so cold that it made Xianxia question whether they were indeed in a relationship, which made her more determined to have a child. Tonight, Xianxia prepared a careful candlelight dinner. With her makeup meticulously done, she sat at the dining table waiting for Mo Baichuan. After a long wait, finally, footsteps were heard outside the door. Looking up, Xianxia saw that it was indeed Mo Baichuan. "Baichuan." Mo Baichuan slightly bowed his head as he took a seat across from Xianxia. Xianxia poured a glass of red wine for Mo Baichuan. "The medium-rare Kobe steak pairs best with red wine. Baichuan, have a taste." Chapter 427, A Not-to-be-missed Drama. _1. The steak was personally fried by Xianxia. To be able to cook a master-level crispy tender steak, she had intentionally attended a culinary course in our country for over a month. The red wine was personally purchased by Xianxia. It had been decanted previously. You could smell the fruity taste of grapes even before it reaches your throat. It was top-notch red wine from F country. Mo Baichuan picked up his glass and took a small sip. "The taste is good. It just felt a bit bitter." He didn't recall ever having this slightly bitter feeling before drinking red wine. Could there be something wrong with his taste buds? Mo Baichuan took another sip and savored it carefully. This time he didn't get the slight bitter feeling again. Only the robust and mellow flavor that had missed was left. It must have been an illusion. Xianxia stole a glance at Mo Baichuan from the corner of her eye, a crafty smile hooking up at the corner of her mouth. "Try the steak again." Xianxia stood up and switched the cut steak in front of her with Mo Baichuan's. "No need." Mo Baichuan held down his plate, his tone indifferent. "I can do it myself." "All right." Xianxia sat down without feeling awkward and started to smile. Mo Baichuan was cutting the steak with his eyes down, his posture graceful. After all, he was a young master born into a wealthy family. This kind of demeanor that emanated from his bones was something ordinary people could never imitate without making a fool of themselves. Xianxia simply looked at him, the deep infatuation in her eyes impossible to conceal. Just thinking about how this excellent man would soon completely belong to her made Xianxia unable to contain her excitement once again. "Baichuan?" Xianxia took a sip of red wine and asked hesitantly, "Have you told your parents about us?" "What are you referring to?" Mo Baichuan bit into the steak, savoring it carefully. From Mo Baichuan's reaction, Xianxia could tell that he didn't really care about this matter. A feeling of unwillingness flashed in Xianxia's eyes. Just what was she in Mo Baichuan's heart? In order to reach his heart, to stand beside him, she had transformed from a naive country girl who knew nothing into someone who could please the sophisticated ladies of Beijing. No one knew how much effort she had put into this. And what about Mo Baichuan? Mo Baichuan didn't even bother to inform his parents about this important matter. The more Xianxia thought about it, the more aggrieved she felt. Her heart was filled with an indescribable sadness, yet she managed to conceal it well, feigning shyness as she said, I mean, our relationship. At first Mo Baichuan was a bit taken aback, then he said, when the time is right I will naturally tell them. Li Xianxian nodded, then said hesitantly, Baichuan, I feel like your parents don't really like me. While cutting the steak Mo Baichuan said, my parents are very easygoing, you're overthinking. Li Xianxian didn't respond. She just poured another glass of wine for Mo Baichuan. Meanwhile, at the Zheng family's residence, the assistant was reporting Li Xianxian's whereabouts in the past few days to Zheng Xianjing. About a week ago, Li Xianxian ran around 10 pharmacies, all just to buy a specific secret potion. What kind of secret potion? Zheng Xianjing looked up at the assistant. The assistant's eyes flickered. He leaned in and whispered in Zheng Xianjing's ear. Upon hearing this, Zheng Xianjing was shocked. Really? The assistant nodded. After Li Xianxian left the pharmacy, I had someone purchase an identical potion from the pharmacy. Here it is. The assistant took out a small green bottle from his pocket. Written on the bottle were the words, Spring Breeze Palace. You're sure it's that potion? Zheng Xianjing squinted her eyes. This Li Xianxian really had wild ambitions, to think she dared to buy even this kind of potion. Fortunately, she was prepared and had someone following Li Xianxian. Yes, the assistant nodded, I have already had a doctor authenticated. What is Li Xianxian doing now? Zheng Xianjing asked next. The assistant continued, tonight, Li Xianxian invited Mr. Mo for a dinner. What? Zheng Xianjing abruptly stood up from her chair. How could you tell something so important only now? You incompetent. She bought that kind of potion in one breath and invited Mo Baichuan for dinner in the other. Even a fool would know Li Xianxian was up to no good. She was utterly shameless. Enraged, Zheng Xianjing stormed out, fearing that every second wasted, Li Xianxian and Mo Baichuan would become a fait accompli. After a few steps, Zheng Xianjing broke her stride. Where are they having dinner? The assistant responded, at Li Xianxian's residence. The moment the assistant's words echoed, Zheng Xianjing had already disappeared from sight. Chapter 428, A Not-to-Be-Missed Drama. _2. She was too eager. She was dying to expose Li Xianxian's ugly facade to Mo Baichuan, and finally she was given this chance to pay back for the insults Li Xianxian has thrown at her in the Japanese restaurant the other day. Zheng Xianjing was now both anxious and delighted. On the way down the stairs she wasn't paying attention and bumped into a person. Ah, a ghost. Zheng Suyu made a scared gesture and ran upstairs, not daring to look back. If it were usual, Zheng Xianjing would definitely have taken this opportunity to teach Zheng Suyu a lesson in private. But today she had no time to deal with a lunatic. Zheng Xianjing didn't even have time to call her driver. She quickly grabbed her car keys and left. She drove recklessly, eventually arriving at Li Xianxian's residence in the base. The base had tight security, but Zheng Xianjing's face was her pass. After all, she grew up with Mo Baichuan, so she had been to the base hundreds if not thousands of times. Zheng Xianjing parked her car under Li Xianxian's apartment building, then climbed up to the second floor. The door was not locked from the inside, so Zheng Xianjing opened it in one push. The two inside having a drink were startled by this sudden interruption. Mo Baichuan was fairly calm, while Li Xianxian became so spooked that she turned pale and her voice was trembling. Sister Xianjing is here. What are you afraid of now that I'm here? Nothing is more frightening than having a guilty conscience. Li Xianxian was reacting way too strangely, making Zheng Xianjing even more convinced that something had been added to the wine. I am not afraid. Li Xianxian forced a grin, put down her wine glass. Sister Xianjing, please have a seat. I didn't know you were coming, so I didn't prepare a set of tableware for you. I hope you don't mind. Zheng Xianjing didn't accommodate her at all. She walked up to the table, picked up Mo Baichuan's wine glass and took a sniff. Brother Baichuan, you can't drink this. Sister Xianjing, this wine is a pale purple from F country, why can't I drink it? Li Xianxian had calmed down a lot now and stood up to retrieve the wine glass from Zheng Xianjing, but was skillfully avoided. Mo Baichuan looked at the two in confusion. Zheng Xianjing sneered, Li Xianxian, stop acting innocent. Do you not know what you've done wrong? Li Xianxian shook her head helplessly. Sister Xianjing, what on earth are you talking about? I don't understand. Zheng Xianjing looked at Li Xianxian with a mocking face. Li Xianxian, can you stop pretending to be innocent? Sooner or later your deeds will be exposed. Stop acting. Li Xianxian turned pale and was so frightened that she even started tearing up. Sister Xianjing, if you have anything to say, just say it directly. I really don't understand how I offended you. Why are you targeting me every time? If I really did something wrong, I'm willing to apologize to you. I'm sorry, Sister Xianjing, I was wrong. At her words, Mo Baichuan turned to look at Zheng Xianjing, studying her more closely. From the moment she entered the room, Zheng Xianjing was accusatory, while Li Xianxian remained weak and understanding. Even though Zheng Xianjing's accusations had become very harsh, Li Xianxian chose to swallow her pride and apologize to Zheng Xianjing. Could an ordinary person have this kind of magnanimity? Perhaps Li Xianxian was really a rare good girl, and he shouldn't have started dating her just to stir up jealousy in an Yang. That would be using her. With this thought, Mo Baichuan was filled with guilt. It was he who had wronged Li Xianxian. Xianjing, you've gone too far. Mo Baichuan frowned slightly. Li Xianxian managed to hide a smile. In her previous life, she was well versed in human psychology. She knew that the defender always had the advantage. As long as she took the initiative to apologize, even if she was in the wrong, she would appear right. You think you can outsmart me, Zheng Xianxian? You're too naive. Brother Baichuan, Zheng Xianjing turned to Mo Baichuan and said, Li Xianxian put an aphrodisiac in this wine. She's trying to trap you. You mustn't be fooled by this wicked woman. Aphrodisiac? Upon hearing this, Mo Baichuan's face instantly changed. No wonder he thought there was something different about the taste of the wine today. So it was drugged. Zheng Xianjing continued to speak, Li Xianxian, how can you be so shameless? You even stooped to doing such a filthy thing. I really didn't. Li Xianxian immediately burst into tears, her voice choked. She didn't know what to say anymore, she just kept clutching Mo Baichuan's sleeve. Chapter 429, A Not-to-be-missed Drama. _3. Mo Baichuan with a cold face said, Li Xianxian, you've really disappointed me. Baichuan, you've misunderstood me. I didn't use that kind of drug. Li Xianxian cried, her tears streaking through her makeup. It broke Mo Baichuan's heart to see her like this. After all, he had known Li Xianxian for more than 2 years. She had always been good to him and even published a book this year. Would Li Xianxian ever do something like drugging someone? Whether or not you've used the drug, wouldn't going to the doctor's office confirm it? Li Xianxian, are you willing to go? Zheng Xianjing demanded fiercely. Baichuan, don't you trust me? Li Xianxian looked up at Mo Baichuan, her almond-shaped eyes red and swollen. Mo Baichuan looked at Li Xianxian, wavering in his resolve. Brother Baichuan, Zheng Xianjing quickly countered, be calm. Don't be fooled by this woman. By the way, Brother Baichuan, did you drink the wine? If you did drink, there's no way you wouldn't react. Mo Baichuan hadn't realized until Zheng Xianjing mentioned it, but he began to feel a heat rising from his lower abdomen. Mo Baichuan grabbed Li Xianxian's arm, come with me to the doctor's office. Zheng Xianjing held the wine glass, her eyes gleaming with malicious pleasure. I didn't use that kind of drug. Li Xianxian cried out indignantly, exclaiming, I want go. Zheng Xianjing scoffed, the innocent are always without fear. If you're innocent, why are you afraid to go? Baichuan, I really haven't. Believe me, Li Xianxian pleaded with teary eyes, directing her plaintive gaze at Mo Baichuan, this will affect my reputation for life. I hope you consider it all very carefully. Let's go. Mo Baichuan had completely lost trust in Li Xianxian, as his feeling of warmth had only gotten stronger. It was strange, he even felt like he was breaking into a sweat. Mo Baichuan pulled Li Xianxian all the way to the doctor's office while Zheng Xianjing followed, grinning triumphantly. The doctor in the office was a high school classmate of Mo Baichuan's, named Yin Xiaocheng. Mo Baichuan took the wine glass from Zheng Xianjing and handed it to Yin Xiaocheng. Help me verify if there's anything wrong with this wine. Without asking any further questions, Yin Xiaocheng accepted the glass and retired into the lab. Wait for me for 10 minutes. Li Xianxian watched as the lab door shut, her face a complex mix of emotions. Zheng Xianjing looked at Li Xianxian's despair with a gratified smile. Who would have thought the impressive Li Xianxian would be reduced to this? After 10 minutes, the lab door reopened. Yin Xiaocheng in his full lab gown walked out. The smug look on Zheng Xianjing's face was brighter than ever. Mo Baichuan rushed up to him immediately. So, how was it? Yin Xiaocheng removed his mask. Nothing is wrong with the wine, but how about you too? What is the problem? The wine is okay? Zheng Xianjing's face changed instantly. She blurted out, Brother Yin, are you sure you were correct? How could the wine be fine? Li Xianxian definitely drugged the wine. Ah, Yin Xiaocheng said with sudden realization. You're talking about that kind of drug. I told you there's a drug. Zheng Xianjing sighed in relief. Yin Xiaoqing asked, puzzled, "What's wrong with the drug? Is there a problem?" Mo Baichuan cleared his throat, speaking softly, "Can we talk privately?" After all, he thought, being drugged wasn't something to be proud of. After hearing the full story, Yin Xiaoqing laughed. The feeling of warmth, sweating, these are normal symptoms from taking a stomach medicine. Stomach medicine? Mo Baichuan looked at him questioningly. What stomach medicine? Yin Xiaoqing continued, the stomach medicine that was soaked in the red wine. Didn't Xianxia tell you? In order to help your stomach, she came to me for advice many times. Xianxia stood to the side, her face revealing neither elation at her vindication nor indignation, but a calmness that hit Mo Baichuan like a pang of guilt. Xianxia, I'm sorry. Mo Baichuan struggled to speak those words. He had never apologized to anyone in his life. Xianxia was the first. Xianxia forced a smile, fighting back tears as she looked at Mo Baichuan. I guess it's my fault too. I shouldn't have secretly put the stomach medicine into the red wine, causing this misunderstanding. But what I couldn't believe is that you didn't trust me, Baichuan. I lost my parents when I was young, you're the only boyfriend I've had, you were the only person I could trust, but you didn't trust me. With every painful word Xianxia spoke, guilt stabbed at Mo Baichuan's heart. It was he who had really wronged Xianxia. He had no right to question her character. Chapter 430, A Not-to-be-missed Drama. _4. Yin Xiaoqing gave Mo Baichuan a pat on the shoulder. In fact, Xianxia means well, she's afraid you won't take your medicine on time, so she mixed the stomach medicine in the red wine. Brother, think about it, how many stomach pills have you thrown away these past years? Stomach medicine. There was actually stomach medicine in the red wine. Even Zheng Xianjing was stunned this time. Wasn't it that kind of medicine? How did it turn out to be stomach medicine? What exactly was going on? Zheng Xianjing glanced over at Xianxia, who smirked at her, the corner of her mouth filled with provocation. Now Zheng Xianjing understood everything. This was clearly a trap Xianxia had intentionally set for her. All was pre-planned by Xianxia. You vile woman. You schemed against me. Unable to bear such humiliation, Zheng Xianjing stormed over and slapped Xianxia hard across the face. Xianxia's head jerked to one side, a trace of fresh blood oozing out of the corner of her mouth. Sister Xianjing, I didn't. Zheng Xianjing. Enough is enough. Mo Baichuan seized Zheng Xianjing's wrist and gave it a rough swing. Zheng Xianjing staggered, almost falling. Brother Baichuan, we have been friends since childhood, you've only known Xianxia for 2 years. Please believe me. It's Xianxia who's deliberately framing me. Zheng Xianjing, I've indulged you enough in the past. Get out now. Mo Baichuan angrily pointed towards the door, his face darkened with fury. Xianxia walked up to Mo Baichuan and seemingly understandingly said, Actually, Sister Xianjing means well, she's grown up with you and didn't mean to cause harm. It appeared that Xianxia was finding excuses for Zheng Xianjing when in reality she was adding fuel to the fire. Zheng Xianjing almost died of anger. Damned Xianxia. She never dreamt that she would fall so miserably into Xianxia's trap one day. But she wouldn't admit defeat. Zheng Xianjing immediately said, Brother Baichuan, I know I was wrong. Please don't be angry with me. Xianxia, please be magnanimous and forgive me. Not being entirely a fool, a hint of surprise flashed in Xianxia's eyes and she generously said, I hope that Sister Xianjing will think twice before doing anything next time. Zheng Xianxia nodded hurriedly, Thank you, Xianxia, I promise there won't be a next time. The next time she will repay Xianxia 100,000 tens of thousand times over for the humiliation she suffered today. Xianxia looked at Mo Baichuan, I'd like to take a day off to calm down. Okay. Without any hesitation, Mo Baichuan nodded in agreement. Then I'll leave first. I'll walk you out, Mo Baichuan said, trying to make up for his guilt and caught up with Xianxia's steps. Xianxia turned back to refuse Mo Baichuan, Don't follow me, I want to walk alone. This was the first time Xianxia had refused Mo Baichuan. Mo Baichuan was taken aback for a moment and then said, Then be careful on your own. Xianxia nodded, turned around and walked towards the door. Her figure quickly disappeared from the base. Brother Baichuan, Zheng Xianjing hesitated to step forward. You should also go, Mo Baichuan pinched his temples. Zheng Xianjing continued, Brother Baichuan, believe me, I really didn't. Mo Baichuan cut Zheng Xianjing off mid-sentence. Go home. Those words exhausted all of Mo Baichuan's patience. Zheng Xianjing bit her lip and decided to retreat for now. After leaving the base, Xianxia didn't go anywhere else. Instead, she went to a public phone booth and made a phone call. After making the call, she squatted down on the side and sobbed sadly. Not long afterward, a small sedan pulled up next to Xianxia. Li Ting stepped out of the driver's seat. Xianxia, what's wrong? Although Yang had told Li Ting that Xianxia's song Mountain Moon was plagiarized from Shimurong, he didn't believe that Xianxia would plagiarize. How could a kind and exceptional girl like Xianxia commit such a contemptible act of plagiarism? It must have been Yang who was jealous of Xianxia slandering her. Moreover, Li Ting had checked, there was no author named Shimurong at all. Tingji, Xianxia threw herself into Li Ting's arms, sobbing loudly. Li Ting's eyes filled with heartache. Xianxia, what's the matter? Who bullied you? Tell me, I'll seek revenge for you. Stop asking, Tingji, I just want to hold you right now. Li Ting's heart twisted in pain. No one noticed that underneath the darkness, a malevolent smile curved up at the corner of Xianxia's mouth. It looked just like the hissing tongue of a venomous snake. Chapter 431, A Not-to-be-missed Drama. _5. Since Mo Baichuan didn't trust her, what does it matter if she played the part of the ill-fated princess once more? Originally she didn't want to go through all this trouble. After crying for a while, Xianxia's emotions gradually settled. Li Ting softly said, Xianxia, it's getting late, let me take you home. Xianxia tightly hugged Li Ting and after a long while she mumbled, Tingji, would you let me stay for the night? Xianxia was Li Ting's object of unfulfilled longing, so naturally he was more than willing to agree to her request. Xianxia, aren't you concerned about your reputation? Li Ting hesitated. Despite his willingness, he had to consider Xianxia's reputation. After all, she was a girl. Xianxia feigned a strong smile. Do you think I am the type who cares about appearances? You're my only confidant. Let's go, I'll take you home. Li Ting opened the passenger side of the car. For the sake of Xianxia's reputation, Li Ting didn't take her back to Li family's villa, but brought her to his residence instead. Upon entering the residence, Li Ting busied himself with pouring hot water and preparing drinks for Xianxia. Xianxia said, I want to drink alcohol. Tingji, do you have any here? Li Ting handed a milk drink to Xianxia. It's not good for girls to drink alcohol, it's better to have some milk before bed. Xianxia looked at Li Ting and choked out, I feel awful, Tingji, just let me have a sip. In that moment, Li Ting gave in, taking a can of beer from the fridge. Cans came into existence in the 1950s. Xianxia handed Li Ting a can. Tingji, let's toast. Cheers. Xianxia chugged most of the beer in the can and drunkenly slumped onto Li Ting. Tingji, you're so kind. Li Ting sat there, barely daring to move. Tingji, I'm thirsty, I want to drink water. Xianxia requested. Li Ting handed her a cup of water. Xianxia pushed it away. I don't want the cold one, I want hot water. Helplessly, Li Ting rose to pour Xianxia some hot water. Hearing the sound of Li Ting's footsteps growing distant, Xianxia quickly pulled a green pill from her pocket, dropped it into Li Ting's beer and shook it. Soon Li Ting came back with the hot water. Xianxia, have some water. Xianxia took the cup. Tingji, let's toast. Li Ting picked up the spiked can and drank. The more he drank, the woozier and hotter he felt and he began to lose control of himself. Despite this, he remained conscious. He forcefully subdued Xianxia. No matter how much she resisted, it was useless. The next day, Li Ting opened his eyes to an intense headache. Looking at the ceiling, his mind blank for a moment. Was last night a dream or did it really happen? After a while, Li Ting lifted the covers and in that moment, he realized that it was not a dream. Everything that happened last night was real. He had forced Xianxia. What should he do? Li Ting massaged his temples in frustration. He didn't know what had come over him last night, it was as if he was suddenly possessed. Xianxia saw him as her confidant, but he treated Xianxia this way. There was no way she would forgive him. Beast? Li Ting fiercely slapped himself. After washing up, Li Ting went to Xianxia's school as soon as he could. After a long time, Xianxia came out looking frail and sorrowful, but with a bizarre melancholic beauty. Xianxia? Li Ting looked at Xianxia wanting to speak but stopping. He knew it was too late to say anything now, but he could take responsibility for Xianxia. From now on, Xianxia would be the only lady of the Li family. He would spend the rest of his life treating her well. Don't say it. Xianxia interrupted Li Ting from speaking further. What happened last night was an accident, I don't blame you. Li Ting was taken aback, he didn't expect Xianxia to be this magnanimous. Xianxia went on, Tingji, I know what you're thinking, but I must clarify something. My relationship with you is nothing more than that of a confidant. I already have someone I like. He's my boyfriend now, and after what happened I feel like I've really wronged him. If you really want to make it up to me, then help me keep this quiet. Chapter 432, A Not-to-be-missed Drama. _6. Li Tingji knew that Li Xianxia didn't like him. He had always known. But he still wanted to try. Xianxia, things have already happened. Marry me, I will be good to you in the future. Li Tingji, you're too selfish. Li Xianxia suddenly added weight to her tone. I didn't want it to happen. If you're not helping me now, it's fine. But you're using this to coerce me. Do you realize how hard it was for me to decide to see you? But you actually threatened me. Li Tingji became anxious. I'm sorry, Xianxia, I didn't mean it that way. I know I am wrong to you. Rest assured, I won't pressure you, nor will I intimidate you. I'll listen to whatever you say. After all, the one who was in the wrong was him towards Li Xianxia. That Li Xianxia could have been so composed was already beyond ordinary people. Come here. Li Xianxia spoke softly. Li Tingji leaned his head down. Li Xianxia whispered something in his ear. Hearing this, Li Tingji nodded and said, All right, leave this matter to me. His agreement came easily, but his eyes flashed with a look of pain. The Enai family. Enai Tsuehua was making chili strips in the kitchen. Adding to Enai Yan's recipe, she sprinkled another layer of white sesame onto the ready-made spicy strips. The spicy taste was combined with the aroma of sesame, leaving a delightful flavor in the mouth with each bite. Once the chili strips were ready, Enai Tsuehua filled up a big iron pot with them. She made a lot of chili strips, filling up an entire pot. Enai Tsuehua pushed out her bicycle, fixed little Enai Yun onto the child's seat, covered the iron pot full of chili strips with a plastic bag, and finally tied it onto the bike. By the time all this was done, it was already 3:30 p.m. Enai Tsuehua rode her bike towards the city center. At 4 p.m., Enai Tsuehua parked her bike in front of a primary school at the city center. Yes, Enai Tsuehua had come to sell chili strips. Enai Yen was so outstanding she didn't want to be a useless mother idling away at home every day. She wanted to do something too. The chili strips tasted so good, she was certain they would sell out in front of the school gate. Enai Tsuehua took out the chili strips and displayed them on a big stone by the roadside. Little Enai Yun sat in the bike's rear seat, not crying or making a fuss, exceptionally obedient. At 4:10 p.m., the school bell rang for the end of the day. Ding ding ding, a crowd of primary school students in school uniforms swarmed out. Enai Tsuehua, standing by the roadside, suddenly felt a little nervous. Coming out to sell something for the first time, she didn't know what to do. There were also others nearby selling buns and snacks, who didn't need to do anything for the children to rush to them. Some wanted the sesame candy costing 5 yuan and others the sugared ice costing 3 yuan. Yet not a single student came to her. It was her first day setting up a stall and the big iron pot wasn't filled with colorful candies or delicious juice, so the children, not knowing what she was selling, naturally wouldn't come over. What should she do now? Enai Tsuehua wanted to call out but lacked the courage. She didn't know how to call out and felt extremely embarrassed. So when all the students had left, Enai Tsuehua hadn't sold a single chili strip. This was a bit beyond Enai Kuihua's expectations. She had thought that it would be easy to do business, but she encountered a setback the day she started selling chili strips. At 5:30 p.m., Enai Tsuehua left with her cart, critically reviewing why she couldn't sell any chili strips. The main reason was pride. Others didn't know what she was selling or if it was nice, so naturally she couldn't sell anything. No, she needed to find a solution. Enai Tsuehua thought about this as she cycled. The next day, Enai Tsuehua went to the school gate as usual. Unlike yesterday, she brought along a cushion fan today. When the students got out of school, she began to fan the air and announce, "Chili strips, 2 yuan each." The delightful aroma was successfully wafted out, and after shouting a few times, Enai Tsuehua found that it wasn't as embarrassing. Thus she continued to call out a second time, a third time. However, since chili strips was a novel term, these children hadn't heard of it before and naturally wouldn't approach to inquire. Finally, a primary school student was drawn by the tantalizing smell and asked, "Auntie, what do you call this? It smells so good." With a little customer approaching, Enai Tsuehua was naturally joyous. "These are chili strips, fragrant and spicy, very delicious." "Is it exceptionally spicy?" Although the aroma was enticing, the child had never tasted it before and was a little hesitant. And Tsuehua picked up a small piece with a toothpick and passed it to the child. Kid, why don't you try it? Thank you, Auntie. The little customer reached out to receive it. There wasn't a child capable of resisting chili strips. The spicy and numbing sensation was simply too good. Furthermore, Tsuehua was generous with the seasonings, even adding her own special blend of spices, making the taste even more satisfying. People would hate to waste any bit, almost regretting not sucking their fingers clean. The little customer finished the bite-sized sample and was left wanting more. Immediately she asked, Auntie, is it 2 yuan per chili strip? Yes. Tsuehua nodded smilingly. They'll take 3. The little customer immediately took out 6 yuan to give to Tsuehua. Tsuehua promptly wrapped the chili strips and handed them to her. Thanks to the first little customer's word of mouth, the second and third customers quickly joined in. In a short time, all the chili strips in the large iron pot were sold out. Tsuehua felt it was as incredible as a dream. When she returned home, Tsuehua counted the money she had earned from selling chili strips that day. Adding up all the small change, it turned out to be 6 yuan in total. 6 yuan a day meant 180 yuan a month. This was much better than an average salary worker. Moreover, she only had to sell for a short while at 4 p.m. Each day. This wouldn't disrupt her household chores either. For several consecutive days, Tsuehua went out to sell chili strips to supplement the family income. The term chili strip gradually circulated among a group of primary school students. The other vendors nearby saw how good Kuihua's business was and followed suit, causing envy. Today was Mo Baichuan's birthday. Mo Baichuan didn't want to be extravagant, but his good brother Li Tingji and several other friends insisted on holding a birthday party for him. Mo Baichuan couldn't refuse, so he had to agree. Because of the previous incident, Mo Baichuan always felt guilty towards Li Xianxia, so he went to invite her personally. Thinking of Yen, he intentionally let the news slip to Yen and also invited Mo Qishan to join. As he knew Yang would certainly come on the pretext of joining Mo Baichuan. Chapter 433. Mo Baichuan's Strategy, Big Brother's Marriage Proposal _1. So, Mo Baichuan's next move was to compensate Li Xianxia well so as to provoke Yang. The venue for Li Tingzi's birthday party for Mo Baichuan was a large restaurant in Beijing. By 7 o'clock in the evening, Mo Baichuan arrived punctually under Li Xianxian's dormitory. For her part, Li Xianxia showed up, looking beautiful and radiant before Mo Baichuan, not pretending to be ignorant, as though she had forgotten the incident of that day. Baichuan. Seeing Li Xianxia in such a magnanimous state deepened Mo Baichuan's guilt, and he took the initiative to open her car door. Sit. Thank you. Li Xianxia leaned in and sat. Within a short time, the car had arrived at the restaurant entrance. Thinking that Yang and Mo Qishan were probably already there, Mo Baichuan took the initiative to link arms with Li Xianxia and proceed into the restaurant. Li Xianxia looked at their linked arms, a faint curve forming at the corner of her mouth. After tonight, Mo Baichuan would wholly belong to her. As soon as the two walked into the private room, they were showered with streamers by good friends hiding in the dark. Happy birthday. It was the first time for Mo Baichuan to introduce Li Xianxia to these friends, and the crowd teased him. Baichuan, who is the beauty beside you? Baichuan, won't you introduce her to us? Maintaining his composure, Mo Baichuan scanned his gaze across the crowd. This is my girlfriend Li Xianxia. Girlfriend? The iron tree that hadn't bloomed for 1,000 years has finally blossomed and he has a girlfriend. Everyone scrambled to greet Li Xianxia. She comported herself very well, showing the demeanor fitting to her heritage. Mo Baichuan's expression was a bit complicated, as Mo Qishan and Yang were not among these people. Yang didn't come? Where was Yang? Usually, Yang wouldn't skip a birthday party like this. Hadn't he let someone inform her? Could it possibly be that Yang was on her way now? Yes, Yang must be en route. Mo Baichuan withdrew his gaze nonchalantly. After their friends made a ruckus in the private room, when it was time to order dishes, neither Mo Qishan nor Yang had come. Was Yang trying to make a late grand entrance to attract everyone's attention? Considering her character, this was likely. Mo Baichuan didn't wait for Yang and passed the menu to Li Xianxia for her to order the food. All of this was observed by Li Tingji, who was sitting across from them. A murky light flashed in his eyes and his fists clenched inside his sleeves. No one can understand the feeling of pushing the person you love most into another man's arms. It hurts his heart. But he had to keep it to himself. Just as almost all the dishes had been served, the door of the private room was pushed open again. Without a second thought, he knew Mo Qixin and N.I. Yang must be the ones who came. Looking up, Mo Baichuan saw Mo Qixin as expected. He knew N.I. Yang would come eventually. A mocking gleam flashed in Mo Baichuan's eyes. "Nephew, happy birthday. I got held up and came late." Mo Qixin still seemed frivolous and careless as ever. The rest of the table showed disdain towards Mo Qixin's arrival. He was nothing more than a good-for-nothing. He wasn't worth their extra glance. If Mo Qixin weren't Mo Baichuan's uncle, he wouldn't even have the privilege to share a table with them. Although there were plenty of spoilt brats among the upper class, none was as utterly worthless as Mo Qixin. "Uncle." Mo Baichuan stood up politely, pulling out a chair for Mo Qixin. Mo Qixin took the seat without refusal, examined the room with his eyes, sat in the first position nonchalantly, chest folded, legs on the table, the very picture of a spoilt brat. A useless person wasn't scary. What was disturbing was that he didn't feel embarrassed about his actions but acted presumptuously. How did the 100-year-old Mo family end up with such a person? Everyone else at the table shook their heads helplessly. Mo Baichuan glanced casually at the restaurant entrance, furrowing his brows subtly. Did only Mo Qixin come? Where was N.I. Yang? Why didn't N.I. Yang come with Mo Qixin? Had they broken up? If they indeed had broken up, would N.I. Yang start taking steps to attract his attention next? Couldn't she hold back anymore? He knew it, N.I. Yang couldn't have been infatuated with a worthless person like Mo Qixin. A sneering light flashed in the depth of Mo Baichuan's eyes. Xianxia, looking at Mo Qixin with a smile, asked the question that lingered in Mo Baichuan's heart. "Uncle, how come your fiancé did not come with you?" Chapter 434. Mo Baichuan's Tactics, Bigwig's Proposal _2. The future sixth aunt-in-law? Upon hearing this, everyone else around was stunned. Mo Qixin has a girlfriend now. Who knows which girl is blind enough to be with this useless Mo Qixin? It must not be a decent girl, probably a gold digger out of the slums, only interested in the Mo family's fortune to date Mo Qixin. Otherwise, could this useless Mo Qixin possibly find a girlfriend in their circles? A gold digger and a good-for-nothing, what a perfect match they must be. Upon such thoughts, everyone's gazes became even more contemptuous. Without caring about the disdain from others, Mo Qixin picked up his glass, took a sip of red wine and coldly said, "Your sixth aunt is afraid of being bothered by some mad dog." A mad dog? Mo Baichuan's face turned dark. He didn't really want to lose his temper in front of his elder relative Mo Qixin. N.I. Yang clearly was the one who dumped Mo Qixin, yet he twisted it up now. Pathetic, truly pathetic. He has no self-awareness at all. Xianxia pretended not to understand. "What kind of joke are you making, uncle? Where would there be any mad dogs around?" Mo Qixin gave a faint smile. "Isn't it clear to you if there are mad dogs around?" After finishing, he stood upright and looked down at Mo Baichuan. "I've already wished you a happy birthday, nephew. I have to leave now due to other matters." Other matters? What kind of business could Mo Qixin have? Someone jeered. "Young Master Mo, you seem to be a busy man. May I know what urgent business you need to attend to?" The enjoyment of a warm evening in the embrace of love is also a big deal in life. You're right. Eating, drinking and having fun are important too, right? At that, the room burst into laughter. Mo Qixin didn't get angry, took his hat from the waiter and put it on. The dark brim hid his elegant eyes and also the ridiculing expression in them. Interestingly, all of Mo Baichuan's friends considered themselves juniors in front of Mo Qixin. But Mo Baichuan didn't even attempt to intervene, he just got up and said, "Uncle, let me see you out." Xianxia stood up and followed Mo Baichuan's pace. The two escorted Mo Qixin to the door. As Mo Qixin walked out, he looked up at the moon in the sky. The cold moonlight coated him with a silver halo, revealing a subtle mystique. Suddenly he missed Yang. Mo Qixin sighed lightly. Striving to present N.I. Yang with all the finest things in the world, he had been busy all these days. Counting the time, they hadn't seen each other for over 10 days. "Sir." A black luxury car pulled up in front of Mo Qixin. Marcus got out of the car and respectfully opened the back door. Mo Qixin leaned into the back seat. "Sir, in a few days it will be Miss Ni's younger sister N.I. Yun's first birthday. Do you need us to prepare a gift?" Morris, who was sitting in the co-driver's seat, looked back at Mo Qixin. A spark flickered in Mo Qixin's eyes. "No need, I will prepare it myself." Prepare the gift himself? Upon hearing this, both Marcus and Morris were slightly taken aback. It seemed that this Miss Ni really was special. Mo Chishan unbuttoned the second button on his white shirt, and said, "Clear my schedule for tomorrow morning." "Understood." Marcus nodded his head. Inside the restaurant, in a private room, a group of people were clapping and singing happy birthday to Mo Baichuan. Xianxia cut the cake for Mo Baichuan herself. Looking at this beautiful and warm scene, Li Ting kept drinking, and even forgot about thing that Xianxia had asked him to do. "Tingji, have some cake." Xianxia placed a piece of cake in front of Li Ting. Li Ting took one look at her and came back to his senses. "Thank you, sister-in-law." Yes. Now he ought to call Xianxia sister-in-law, because everyone in the private room was calling her sister-in-law. If he didn't, it would undoubtedly arouse suspicion. "No worries." Xianxia smiled gently, but the look in her eyes served as a reminder. Li Ting immediately understood the meaning in Li Xianxian's eyes and raised his glass, looking towards Mo Baichuan. "Baichuan, you are the birthday boy. Here's to a happy birthday and to your everlasting happiness with sister-in-law." "Thank you." Mo Baichuan raised his glass to toast with Li Ting. Then Li Ting continued, "Let's all make sure we're drunk before we go home." Yes. Let's get drunk." The rest of them echoed in agreement. Chapter 435. Mo Baichuan's Tactic, Big Boss Proposal _3. One drink, then two. Gradually Mo Baichuan's head was getting dizzy. Xianxia tried to dissuade him. "Baichuan, please stop drinking. You're becoming drunk." Li Tingji laughed. "Sister-in-law, Baichuan has a good alcohol tolerance. How could he be drunk?" "Exactly. Baichuan once drank a bottle of white wine in one gulp." Mo Baichuan was normally very disciplined and rarely drank. On the rare occasion that people had the chance to drink with him, they were not about to let him off so easily. "I'm fine, don't worry." Mo Baichuan turned to look at Xianxia. Frustrated, Xianxia sighed. As the drinks continued for 3 hours, countless empty bottles littered the ground. Not only was Mo Baichuan drunk, everyone else in the private room was too. "Xian," Li Tingji began, lifting his gaze to her before quickly correcting. "Sister-in-law, why don't you take Baichuan home first? I can handle things here." Xianxia nodded and reached out to support Mo Baichuan. Mo Baichuan, standing 185 meters tall, was completely unconscious and limp from the alcohol. Xianxia was unable to muster the strength to move him. Seeing this, Li Tingji assisted by holding up the other side of Mo Baichuan. "He'll help take you guys home." "Thank you, Tingji." Xianxia looked gratefully at him. Agonizing regret flickered across Li Tingji's face. He didn't say anything, just continued helping Mo Baichuan forward while Xianxia hustled to keep up. Li Tingji drove directly to the base and helped Mo Baichuan into his dormitory room. Xianxia took out a key from Mo Baichuan's pocket and unlocked the door. The lavish dormitory, boasting a living room and bedroom suite, hardly resembled a student's dorm. Li Tingji dumped Mo Baichuan on the bed, telling Xianxia, "I'm leaving now." Xianxia nodded, her voice soft, "Take care on your way." As he turned to go, tears streamed down Li Tingji's face. As soon as the door shut, Xianxia walked to the bed and sneered down at Mo Baichuan, a satisfactory smirk on her face. Then she bent over to unzip his clothes. Rip. Soon a pile of torn clothes laid on the floor. Normally, men who are severely drunk have no physical reactions, but Xianxia did not care. She had calculated precisely that it would be her ovulation period the same night she spent with Li Tingji. Xianxia turned the unconscious Mo Baichuan over and positioned him on top of her. The next morning, as soon as the sunshine seeped in through the window, Mo Baichuan opened his eyes. Something's felt off underneath the covers. As if someone were hiding there. Was he dreaming? Mo Baichuan looked down and suddenly snapped awake. What the hell was happening? Why was Xianxia in his bed? Mo Baichuan felt a terrible headache. His mind was blank, unable to remember what had happened the night before. What had happened? He was pretty confident about his self-control. How could he have lost his inhibitions after drinking? Pinching his temples to alleviate his irritation, Mo Baichuan glanced at the torn clothing strewn on the ground, and immediately felt a pit in his stomach. Could it be that he had forced himself on Xianxia? Just then a piercing scream echoed throughout the room. Ah! Xianxia, who had apparently woken up at some point, was gripping the bed covers, her face pale, her entire body trembling. "Xianxia, I have no idea what happened." Mo Baichuan was at a loss, unsure of where to begin explaining. Gulping nervously, Li Xianxian tried to regain some calm. You don't say anything. Let me collect my thoughts. After saying this, she wrapped herself in thin covers and walked toward the bathroom. With the blanket taken, a bright red stain was glaringly obvious on the white sheets. Almost too glaring. Was this Li Xianxian's first time? Mo Baichuan's frown deepened even further. After hurriedly dressing himself, he sat down on the sofa, lit a cigarette and began to furiously puff smoke. Did Li Xianxian set him up? Ordinarily he had good tolerance. Even when drunk he wouldn't become unruly or violent. He would only quietly sleep. How could something like this have happened? Also, why was Li Xianxian in his dormitory? Chinese name squinted his eyes. After a while, Li Xianxian finally emerged, wrapped in covers, from the bathroom. Baichuan. Li Xianxian initiated the conversation. Mo Baichuan looked up at Li Xianxian. Li Xianxian resumed, last night was an accident. We're both adults and I'm also responsible for it. Don't blame yourself or feel guilty. Don't worry, I won't hold you responsible or make any unreasonable demands. Chapter 436. Mo Baichuan's Strategy, Big Brother's Marriage Proposal _4. Upon hearing this, a hint of guilt appeared on Mo Baichuan's face. Rest assured, I am not the kind of person who shirks responsibility. Some things were done and couldn't be undone. Li Xianxian was an innocent young woman who had followed him. It would be unfathomable for Mo Baichuan to deny her now. Li Xianxian said solemnly, Baichuan, I don't want you to take responsibility just for the sake of it. Although we are boyfriend and girlfriend now, I can tell that you don't really like me. So let's break up. Break up? Mo Baichuan was astounded. He had never expected Li Xianxian to bring up breaking up. If this was truly a trap set by Li Xianxian, would she propose breaking up? Who would ever gamble with their own reputation and dignity? For a moment, Mo Baichuan suddenly found the situation confusing. Are you sure you want to break up? Mo Baichuan turned his head to look at Li Xianxian. Yes, I'm sure. Li Xianxian nodded firmly. Let's break up. I will move out of the base as soon as possible, and that way there will be no pressure on either of us. All right. Mo Baichuan nodded. Then let's break up. He was curious if Li Xianxian would really move out. As Li Xianxian curved her lips into an imperceptible smile, a flicker of disdain flashed in her eyes. So this was how lightly he took her in his heart. He didn't even try to keep her when faced with a breakup. Luckily she was prepared for this. This time she was determined to hold on to Mo Baichuan's heart tightly. Goodbye. Li Xianxian wrapped herself tightly in the quilt and moved towards the door. Halfway there, she turned back to look at Mo Baichuan. Don't worry, I will leave quietly without causing any disturbance. After leaving Mo Baichuan's dorm, Li Xianxian went to her own dorm, changed her clothes and took her luggage to leave the base. Without any reluctance or regret. Just as Li Xianxian left, the dorm phone rang. Mo Baichuan walked over and picked it up. Hello. Baichuan, it's me. Li Ting's voice came from the other end of the phone. Mo Baichuan cleared his throat, then asked, Tingji, what's up? Li Ting asked with concern. You and sister-in-law were all right last night, right? Why do you ask? Mo Baichuan furrowed his brows slightly. Li Ting then asked, Baichuan, do you really have no recollection of what happened last night? Last night, what exactly happened? Li Ting continued, this is what happened. Last night you drank too much and you were holding sister-in-law's hand tightly, not letting it go. In the end you started acting unruly. There was no other way, so sister-in-law and I brought you back to your dorm. But you kept causing a ruckus after returning to the dorm. Upon hearing this, Mo Baichuan's expression grew increasingly dark. So it really was him who forced Li Xianxian. Hello, Baichuan, are you still listening? Mo Baichuan finally came back to his senses. I have some other things to do, I'll hang up first. After hanging up the phone, Mo Baichuan went to Li Xianxian's dorm, only to discover that Li Xianxian had already taken all her clothes and left. Meanwhile, somewhere else. Mo Qixin came to Jinghua village early in the morning and the villagers greeted him warmly. Xiaomo is here. Mo Qixin graciously replied with, hello uncle, hello aunt, even handing out cigarettes to the men which made all the elderly men and women beam with smiles. In no time he reached the courtyard of the Ni family. Mo Qixin stood in front of the courtyard and politely knocked on the door. Who's there? Ni Cuihua came out. Seeing Mo Qixin, she immediately replied brightly, Xiaomo is here, come in. Aunt, where's Yang? Mo Qixin looked around the courtyard. Yang went to the river to do laundry. And I Tsuehua replied. Doing laundry at the river? Mo Chishan frowned sympathetically. Hadn't he bought a washing machine already? Why did N.I. Yang still need to go to the river to do laundry? Hand washing was so laborious. They'll go find Yang Yang. Mo Chishan continued. N.I. Tsuehua replied, I can show you the way. Mo Chishan shook his head. Don't worry, Aunt. I know the way. N.I. Tsuehua smiled and said, Fine then, you can go. Mo Chishan turned and headed out. In no time he arrived by the river. He saw N.I. Yang standing by the river with her pants rolled up, busy washing clothes. Her actions exposed a bit of her slender, fair waist against the black cloth, making it noticeably eye-catching. A few ducks were swimming around near the edge. Mo Chishan's Adam's apple bobbed visibly. He took off his shoes and quietly made his way towards N.I. Yang. Chapter 437. Mo Baichuan's Strategy, Big Brother's Marriage Proposal _5. His footsteps were light, very light. N.I. Yang was engrossed in washing clothes, not noticing anything else. Mo Chishan quietly came to N.I. Yang's side, covered her eyes with his hand and held his breath as he asked, Guess who I am? N.I. Yang was momentarily startled but played along. Let me guess. First, using the process of elimination, you definitely aren't that scoundrel Mo Chishan. Her long eyelashes brushed against Mo Chishan's palm, causing a slight tickling sensation. From Mo Chishan's angle, he could see straight down N.I. Yang's neckline. Don't peek when it's inappropriate. Mo Chishan quickly averted his gaze from the sight, looking at the wild ducks on the river, silently chanting a mantra to clear his mind several times. N.I. Yang pinched Mo Chishan's hand. Scoundrel, let go of me now. A patch of water immediately wet Mo Chishan's hand. He quickly came to his senses, releasing N.I. Yang, somewhat surprised. Yang Yang, how did you know it was me? N.I. Yang raised an eyebrow slightly, playfully retorting, Because our hearts are connected. As it turned out, Mo Chishan was indeed not immune to teasing. His face instantly turned red. Really? Really? N.I. Yang laughed. Of course it's true. So, Brother Mo, what brings you here today? Mo Chishan held N.I. Yang tightly, burying his head in her neck, deeply inhaling the fragrance of her hair. Because I missed you. He really, really missed her. He didn't know how to describe this strange feeling. Yang Yang, do you miss me? Mo Chishan continued to ask. N.I. Yang nodded. Really? Mo Chishan was overjoyed. Really? Yang Yang, I really like you a lot. Mo Chishan said seriously, I feel like I can't live without you in this life, I want to be with you forever. N.I. Yang asked, Forever is a long time, are you certain that when I'm old and wrinkled you'll still feel the same as you do now? Perhaps it was because of too many past experiences, N.I. Yang had a hard time believing in love. She wasn't sure how long Mo Chishan's affection for her could last. Who knows what could happen in the future. Yang Yang, I'm 10 years older than you, I'll get old before you, I'll develop wrinkles before you do, as long as you don't mind me, I will always be there to protect you. As it turns out, Mo Chishan was the one who felt insecure. He was afraid that one day N.I. Yang would think he was too old. After all, there was a 10-year gap between them. Don't worry, I won't mind you getting old. N.I. Yang tightened her hold around his waist. Really? Mo Chishan seemed to be in a dream. N.I. Yang was serious. Really? Mo Chishan continued, Wife, when are we getting married? Cough, cough, cough. This scoundrel Mo Chishan is too presumptuous. She's just 18 and he's already thinking about marriage. N.I. Yang was nearly choked by her own saliva, and she pushed Mo Chishan away. Scoundrel, what are you thinking? Caught off guard, Mo Chishan plopped down into the water, sitting there. I'm sorry, Brother Mo, are you okay? N.I. Yang immediately extended a hand to help Mo Chishan up. Mo Chishan refused to get up from the water, looking at N.I. Yang with a pitiful face. Wife, don't you want to marry me? Who are you planning to marry first? Have you stopped liking me? No, you misunderstand, it's not that I don't want to marry you. N.I. Yang didn't know how to explain herself. Upon hearing this, Mo Chishan brightened. Then when are we getting married? Seriously? Again with this problem. N.I. Yang kicked Mo Chishan lightly. Scoundrel, I'm only 18. Does that conflict with marriage? Mo Chishan asked innocently, a forlorn look on his face. Wife, we can't be dishonest. You just said you wouldn't mind me. I'm older than you and you don't want to marry me now. I feel really insecure. At that moment, N.I. Yang had the strange illusion that Mo Chishan was like a homeless, pitiful little puppy. N.I. Yang softened at that, changing her tone. I'm not even of legal marrying age yet, there's a rule that states that the combined age of the couple must be at least 42 for the marriage to be legally recognized, and for girls, the legal age of marriage is 20. Mo Qixin considered this for a moment. Then we can get married in 2 years. Ai Yang took hold of Mo Qixin's hand. Brother Mo, get up first. Mo Qixin, with a mischievous glint in his eyes, held Ai Yang's hand. He slowly stood up, but just then he suddenly pulled her. Chapter 438. Mo Baichuan's Strategy Big Brother's Marriage Proposal _6. Bang. Both of them fell into the water simultaneously, splashing water everywhere. Ai Yang had not been prepared and ended up landed on Mo Qixin's body. Breathing entwined, they could clearly feel each other's heartbeat. Even Mo Qixin, the orchestrator of the whole thing, was stunned, his mind blank. Ai Yang didn't get up in a rush. She reached out to pinch Mo Qixin's face. You dog, has your courage grown? You dare to conspire against me? I didn't, Mo Qixin stammered. Ai Yang increased the strength in her grip. Still defending yourself. Mo Qixin controlled himself and said, Yang, could you get up first, please? Nope. Ai Yang replied, didn't you not want to get up? Yang. Mo Qixin's pupils were as dark as ink, his voice low. Ai Yang decided to back off, stood up and said, I will let you off this time. Phew. Mo Qixin let out a sigh of relief. If Ai Yang hadn't gotten up, he just might have embarrassed himself. He might even have ended up scaring his wife away. Ai Yang continued washing clothes. If you looked closely, her ears were slightly red. Mo Qixin stopped teasing her, took off his upper clothes and dived into the river with vigor. Ai Yang simply washed his clothes as well. The fell earlier had caused quite a bit of yellow mud to stick to Mo Qixin's white shirt. Ai Yang's clothes were not spared either, got quite wet, but luckily it was summer and the thin clothes dried quickly. Yang. Mo Qixin swam to the middle of the river, popped his head out and called for Ai Yang. What is it? Ai Yang looked up. Can you guess what I caught? Mo Qixin continued. A fish. Ai Yang guessed. Wrong. Mo Qixin shook his head. River clams? Mo Qixin still shook his head. It's not a snake, is it? Ai Yang shivered at the thought. Mo Qixin's courage was indeed tremendous. He even dared to catch a snake. Incorrect. Mo Qixin shook his head again. If it's not a fish, not a river clam, and not even a snake, Ai Yang couldn't guess what else in the river Mo Qixin could have caught. Yang, you're really clueless. Ai Yang raised an eyebrow. Are you just messing with me and you didn't catch anything at all? Damn men. Mo Qixin laughed. Yang, how about we make a bet? If you guess correctly, he'll agree to something you ask. If you can't, you'll have to agree to do something for me. And I'll even give you a hint. Ai Yang nodded slightly. Okay, go ahead. Mo Qixin continued. The thing I caught is alive, you've seen it before and you might have even eaten it. River shrimp? Wrong. Mo Qixin chuckled. Yang, you lost. I admit defeat. Ai Yang added. Can you tell me what you caught now? Mo Qixin raised his right hand. It's this. Suddenly the sound of quack 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 echoed in the air. A wild duck. Ai Yang would never have guessed that Mo Qixin would catch a wild duck. Wild ducks differ from domestic ducks. Not only are they much smaller in size, but they are also very agile and can fly high like birds. Under normal circumstances, it would be impossible to catch a wild duck barehanded. Even professional hunters need to use guns. Mo Qixin quickly swam over to Ai Yang and handed the wild duck to her, shamelessly asking, How awesome is your man? Ai Yang slapped his face. Mr. Mo, can you have some shame please? Mo Qixin continued. Yang, you lost, you have to agree to do something for me. Go ahead. Kiss me. Mo Qixin, lying on a rock in the river, said this very seriously. Ai Yang's cheeks turned slightly red. How was she supposed to respond to that? Yang, don't go back on your word. Ai Yang mustered up her courage. Close your eyes first. Mo Qixin obediently closed his eyes. Ai Yang lowered her eyes slightly, quickly pecked him on the cheek, fleeting like a dragonfly touching the water. Even though it was only a moment, Ai Yang's heart was thumping. Mo Qixin was in a similar state, calm on the surface, but an absolute mess inside. Wife, you are too perfunctory. After a while, Mo Qixin finally opened his eyes. He was incredibly grateful to be in the water right now. Ai Yang knocked his head with a look of disgust on her face. Your face stinks. Stop acting smart after scoring points. It's okay as long as you smell nice, wife. Emo Chishan handed the wild duck to Enai Yang. Wife, I will go for another swim. When Enai Yang looked at Emo Chishan again, he was no longer visible on the water surface. A good while later he reappeared from the opposite bank of the river. Enai Yang untied her red hairband and tied the wings and feet of the wild duck with it, then put it in the bucket. After finishing washing the clothes, Enai Yang took out the clothes that Mo Baichuan had worn and hung them on a tree by the riverbank to dry while she sat underneath the tree seeking shade and watched Mo Chishan swimming in the river. Yang, do you want to swim around too? Called Mo Chishan from the river. No thanks. Enai Yang gave him a blank look. In broad daylight, if she did get into the water, she could likely become the guest of honor in the village news the next day. Yang, I've caught something again. Mo Chishan's voice echoed, full of excitement. Is it a fish? Yang, you are so smart. Mo Chishan raised a grass carp that weighs over 3 pounds. Enai Yang just sat by the river and watched him, smiles flickering in her eyes. About half an hour later, Mo Chishan came up from the water. Right at that time the clothes also dried. Mo Chishan put them on, took the bucket with the clothes from Enai Yang. Enai Yang smiled, I can carry it. Mo Chishan said, how could I allow you to do this kind of work while I, as your boyfriend, am around? Boyfriends are meant to do hard work. What else is the use of having a boyfriend? Enai Yang patted his head, good understanding, young man. Mo Chishan smiled, all credit to your coaching. Nobody else got such a privilege. Enai Yang couldn't help but laugh. As they walked and talked, their handsome and beautiful scene made passing pedestrians compliment them heavily. Such a perfect match of talent and beauty. In no time they arrived at the Enai family's house. It was already after 10 a.m., nearing 11 a.m. Enai Yang suggested, Brother Mo, stay for lunch. I'll clean up the duck and grill the fish. Mo Chishan nodded, yes, I'll help you. He seemed to have forgotten about the important meeting waiting for him at noon. Chapter 439. Big Brother. I am a person who loves to idle away his time. Help me one more time _1. Mo Chishan followed Enai Yang into the kitchen. Enai Tsuehua was originally busy in the kitchen. Seeing Mo Chishan and Enai Yang arrive, she thought it would be best not to disturb the young couple. So, she left under the pretense of needing to look after the children. Yang, are we killing the duck too? Enai Yang nodded. I'll do it. Mo Chishan rolled up his sleeves and volunteered. Can you handle it? Enai Yang expressed doubt. A man is most bothered by a woman questioning his ability. I can handle it just fine. Mo Chishan took the wild duck from Enai Yang's hand. Enai Yang gave him a small smile and handed him the kitchen knife. Here you go. And so, the usually commanding boss who would direct operations from his office, was now holding a knife in one hand and a wild duck in the other, unsure of how to proceed. Should he cut the duck's head off? Or perhaps cut it open directly? Would cutting off the head be enough? Mo Chishan held the knife against the duck's neck, preparing to cut its head off when he suddenly stopped. No way. No way. What if the duck's blood splashed onto him? Mo Chishan looked at the duck, then at the kitchen knife, struggling with what to do next. Let me do it. Enai Yang reached for the duck in Mo Chishan's hand. Xiaoma, fetch a bowl from the kitchen and fill it with some salt water. Okay. Mo Chishan touched his nose awkwardly. Yang, how much water and salt should I put in the bowl? Half a small bowl of water and half a small spoon of salt. Enai Yang answered. Okay, I'll be right back. Mo Chishan trotted into the kitchen. Although he couldn't handle killing the duck, simple tasks like this were no problem for Mo Chishan. He quickly came back with the salt water. Yang, here. You can leave it on the floor. Enai Yang then said, Xiaoma, can you hold the duck's feet and wings? Okay. Mo Chishan obediently did as he was told. Enai Yang held the duck's head, the sharp knife instantly aimed at the duck's neck. The bright red blood dripped into the bowl of salt water. She acted swiftly without hesitation. This left Mo Chishan shocked. His wife was incredibly skilled. Even at killing ducks she made it look cool. This was the second time Enai Yang had impressed Mo Chishan, the first time being when she effortlessly opened a bottle cap. After killing the duck, Enai Yang brought 2 bottles of hot water, then looked at Mo Chishan. Xiaoma, can you pluck the feathers? Yes. If he couldn't handle this he would surely lose favor with his wife. Just plucking feathers, right? It's as easy as pie. Mo Chishan put the duck into a wooden basin, poured boiling water over it, and began to pluck the feathers. As it turned out, plucking feathers was indeed much simpler than killing the duck. In a short while, Mo Qishan had finished prepping the duck. Yang, the duck is ready? And Yang was busy with the grass carp and without raising her head said, "Thanks for your hard work, Xiaoma. It's no trouble." Mo Qishan's face turned slightly red and he volunteered to stoke the fire beneath the stove. And Yang was cooking by the stove. The two of them worked well together, and soon the small kitchen was filled with the fragrance of food. For lunch there was spicy and fresh grilled fish and a delectably soft and rich duck soup. Paired with a sour and spicy cucumber salad, the taste was beyond delicious. Mo Qishan ate 2 big bowls of rice in one breath, feeling like it still wasn't enough. After the meal, Mo Qishan volunteered to wash the dishes. And Tsuehua laughed, "Xiaoma is such a good boy. Yang, you must cherish him. Don't bully him." And Tsuehua, having grown up in a different era, had never seen a man do so much for a woman before. In her generation, it was taken for granted that women should serve men. But Mo Qishan had completely overturned her old-fashioned viewpoints. Mo Qishan showed her equality and respect. He was a man deserving of Yang's love. Yang raised an eyebrow slightly. "Mom, do you think I would bully anyone?" Tsuehua knew her daughter was thoughtful and laughed. Yang, as long as you know. Xiaoma is busy in the kitchen now, you should go check on him." Yang nodded and headed toward the kitchen. Yang, when are we moving to the new house next door?" Mo Qishan asked while putting the dishes away in the cabinet. Yang replied, "We're probably moving next month. We haven't decided on a specific moving date. We'll move once the paint smell has dissipated. It's convenient living here now, so there's no hurry." Chapter 440, Boss, I am a leisurely idler. Help me one more time _2. The newly renovated house had excessive formaldehyde levels, which wouldn't be good for little Yun's health if we moved in too early. Mo Qishan continued, "Remember to inform me when you move." "Okay." Yang walked over to Mo Qishan. "Brother Mo, don't move." "What's wrong?" Mo Qishan couldn't control himself as Yang suddenly came close. "Don't move." Yang stood on her tiptoes and a fragrance that was like neither bamboo nor orchid wafted over. What was Yang trying to do? What was she planning by standing on her tiptoes? Was she going to kiss him? If she wanted to kiss him, she didn't need to tiptoe. He could squat down. How embarrassing this was. Mo Qishan's heartbeat suddenly quickened. Thump, 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 as if it was about to jump out of his chest. Pop. A faint sound was heard in the air. Mo Qishan was stupefied for a moment. He thought Yang was going to kiss him, but instead she just slapped him lightly on the forehead. "Brother Mo, look what I got." Yang showed her palm to Mo Qishan. Mo Qishan lowered his gaze slightly, only to see a mosquito with a trace of blood in Yang's palm. So she was just killing a mosquito. Although Mo Qishan was a bit disappointed, he still flattered her. "Yang, you're so awesome." Downtown business building. Morris and Marcus were anxiously pacing around the building. The duo kept checking their watches, wondering, why hasn't the boss arrived yet? The meeting was supposed to be at 12 o'clock, and now it's after 1 o'clock, but there's still no sign of Mo Qishan. Mo Qishan has always been disciplined, never late to meetings large or small. They didn't know what was going on this time. Had something happened? Morris asked Marcus, "Do you know where the boss went?" Marcus shrugged, "How would I know? The boss asked me to clear all his schedules for this morning, but he didn't tell me where he was going." Morris, with a worried look, said, "Did something happen to him? In this era of underdeveloped communications, it's so inconvenient. If anything happens, we don't have any means of communication and we can only worry." Marcus said, "Tsk. Shut your gloom-mongering mouth. How could anything happen to the boss? I think he must have gone to see Miss Ni." Morris scratched his head. "Impossible, right? It's almost the first birthday of Miss Ni's sister. If the boss wants to see Miss Ni, he wouldn't be so urgent." "Who knows?" Marcus added, "There's an old Chinese poem that goes, 'A day without seeing you is like a decade in torment.' I think the boss has really fallen this time. Hey, race, what we do? I'll wait here for the boss. You go find Wu Daming to visit Miss Ni's house and check whether the boss is there." Morris nodded, "Okay, I'll go now." When Wu Daming arrived, Mo Qishan and Yang were feeding birds in the yard. They were a beautiful and perfect couple, whispering to each other. The scene was endearing and pleasant to the eye. "Brother 6. Wu Daming ran in, his face covered in sweat. "What's up?" Mo Qishan turned back with a smile. Although he was smiling, Wu Daming felt a chill down his spine. This brother Six was somewhat terrifying. With a thick skin, Wu Daming reminded him, "Brother Six, Xiaomo and Xiaoma are searching for you everywhere." Only then did Mo Qixin remember about his meeting. He glanced at his wristwatch and saw it was already 2 o'clock. "Well, it's already past 12, might as well spend some more time with my wife." And Yang said, "Brother Mo, if you have something to do, you should go back with Wu Daming first. Don't delay your work." "No problem." Mo Qixin replied without a care, "What kind of official business could a man of leisure like me have?" Wu Daming, if he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't believe that the man before him was Mo Qixin. Indeed, love can drive people crazy. "Are you really sure it's okay?" And Yang raised her eyebrows slightly. "It's really okay," continued Mo Qixin. "If you don't believe me, you can ask Wu Daming." So, in the corner that Yang couldn't see, Wu Daming received another deadly glare. Wanting to live, he laughed and said, it's okay, Xiaomo and Xiaoma are just two idle youths. Apart from wanting to drink with Brother Six, what else could be so important? Sorry Morris and Marcus, you're being blamed for being idle and unproductive by me." In his heart, Wu Daming apologized silently to the outstanding young men Morris and Marcus. And Yang smiled and said, "That's good then. Oh, Wu Daming, we're planning to eat roast rabbit tonight, why don't you stay and join us?" Chapter 441, Big Boss, I am a person who enjoys idling around. Help me one more time _3. "Thanks, sister-in-law and I, but I won't be joining for dinner," Wu Daming declined politely. The roast rabbit was delicious, but he didn't want to be a third wheel. "Just join us, you don't have anything better to do anyways. The more the merrier, right?" And Yang held Mo Qixin's hand tighter. "Right, brother Mo?" Wu Daming had helped her out a lot, and Yang sincerely wanted to show her gratitude. And Yang was far from naive. She knew Wu Daming would listen to Mo Qixin, and if Mo Qixin nodded in approval, Wu Daming would certainly stay. Mo Qixin nodded his head. "Your sister-in-law is right." Wu Daming was about to say something else when Mo Qixin looked at him, his tone bland. "Are you too busy?" Wu Daming immediately changed his tune. No, not busy at all then, sorry for intruding, sister-in-law." And Yang chuckled. "You're not an outsider. Mo, why don't you go keep Daming company inside while I catch the rabbit?" The rabbit meat needed to be marinated in advance so it would be flavorful during the barbecue. Wu Daming said, "I want to walk around the village. Don't bother with me, go about your business." "That's fine too." Mo Qixin nodded, "Just make sure to be back in time for dinner." His message was to stay away until it was dark. Wu Daming got the hint. "Don't worry brother and I'll be back soon." After saying this he turned and left. And Yang and Mo Qixin went to catch the rabbit. There were 7 rabbits in total. They had slaughtered 2 when the Yanran came last time, so they were now down to 5. Mo Qixin grabbed one of the fattest rabbits. Yang, what do you think about this one?" "No," and Yang shook her head, "this one is about to become a mom." Hearing this, Mo Qixin carefully put the rabbit mother down and picked up another one. "How about this one?" "This one is fine." And Yang nodded, then added, "There will be lots of people tonight, brother Mo, you should catch one more." "All right." And Yang was not only adept at slaughtering ducks but was also an expert at killing rabbits. In no time 2 rabbits were evenly coated with various marinades. Apart from rabbit meat, Yang had also prepared enoki mushrooms, baby cabbages, chili, lamb, eggplant, and vermicelli. At this time, barbecues were not yet as popular as they would become in later years, and skewers were not available in the countryside. So, Yang and Mo Qixin went to the bamboo grove to cut some bamboo. Mo Qixin was very skilled with his hands, and Yang just described the shape of the skewers, and as he cut the bamboo, he also whittled the skewers for Yang. They were of uniform size just like what you could buy on the street. And Yang marveled, "Brother Mo, you're so skillful." Just so. The champion of the China swordsmanship competition, Missouri Qixin modestly downplayed his prowess. After making the skewers, Mo Qixin sat in the yard and skewered the food while Yang made the charcoal. Time passed second by second. In a blink of an eye, it was evening. By the time Qingray and Wu Daming returned, Yang had already prepared everything. The barbecue grill was long and people could sit on both sides, allowing everyone to grill and eat at the same time. Although it was summer, the mountain breeze made everything pleasantly cool. "Oh, little Mo is here too. No wonder it's so lively today." And Qingray greeted Mo Qixin enthusiastically. And Mo Qixin stood up politely. And Chingay laughed. Little Mo, you don't need to be so formal with me. We're all family here, please sit. Finishing her sentence, she turned to Yang. Yang, what are we having tonight? Looking around, she didn't see any vegetables. Surely they weren't planning to feed them raw food? Yang replied, Aunt and I were having a barbecue tonight. We'll be grilling and eating. Oh. Chingay nodded, doubting in her heart whether grilling these seemingly dried-out potatoes and enoki mushrooms would actually taste good. As Yang grilled the vegetables, brushing them with oil and sprinkling chili powder and cumin powder, the sizzling of oil soon filled the air. It smelled so good. It made everyone salivate. Shortly after, Yang finished grilling a large batch of vegetables and served them to everyone. Delicious. Sister-in-law you're incredible. Wu Daming wolfed down his food as if he would even swallow his tongue if he could. Chingay quietly retracted her previous doubts. Yang had also grilled a corn on the cob especially for little Yun, who was nestled in Quihua's arms, chewing blissfully on the corn. Despite being just shy of 1 year old, his teeth were already quite formidable. Chapter 442, Big Boss. I am a person who loves to idle away his time. Help me one more time _4. Seeing everyone eating so contentedly made Yang very happy as well. She picked up the marinated bunny and began to roast its meat. Yang, you should have a bite too. Mo Chishan offered a strip of roasted potato slices to Yang's lips. Thank you. She opened her mouth and took a bite. Is it good? Mo Chishan asked. It's delicious. Yang nodded her head. Well then, let me have a taste. Mo Chishan opened his mouth and ate the remaining half slice of potato. Yang's face turned inexplicably red. She quickly lowered her gaze to others. Seeing that all eyes were not on them, she let out a sigh of relief and freed her hand to pinch Mo Chishan's waist. The sky above was illuminated with bright stars, and there was a lively atmosphere of joy in the small farmhouse below. Since that night, Mo Baichuan hadn't seen Xianxia for a week. At first he thought Xianxia, like Yang, was playing hard to get with him. But now it seemed like she was truly intent on breaking up with him, otherwise she wouldn't have disappeared for a week. Thinking about this, Mo Baichuan felt a pang of guilt. After all, it was he who had taken Li Xianxian's innocence. In 1980s China, relationships between men and women were not that open, and women viewed their chastity as incredibly important. Tingji, what exactly happened that night? Mo Baichuan went to ask Li Ting because Li Ting was the only one who knew what had transpired apart from Li Xianxian. Which night? Li Ting looked at Mo Baichuan puzzled. It seemed like he had already forgotten about the birthday party. Mo Baichuan replied, the night of my birthday. Mentioning that night, a flash of pain crossed briefly beneath Li Ting's eyes. What about the night of your birthday? Everyone had a great time. Baichuan, what exactly do you want to ask? Mo Baichuan succinctly said, I just want to know why Li Xianxian was in my room when I woke up the next morning. Li Ting laughed and said, because you were holding on to her hand all night and didn't let her go. Really? Mo Baichuan narrowed his eyes. Li Ting said frustratedly, do I seem so idle that I would lie to you? Li Xianxian and Li Ting had no actual relationship, so there was no need for him to lie for her. Li Ting continued, Baichuan, be honest with me, did you sleep with her that night? Instead of answering directly, Mo Baichuan said, I broke up with her. Broke up? Li Ting was surprised. Why? Baichuan, that's not right. Xianxian is a girl. Things have happened and you should take responsibility. Mo Baichuan replied very calmly, she was the one who wanted to break up first. Li Ting advised, Baichuan, Xianxian is an exceptional girl. I really hope you do not miss out on her and step up to take on the responsibility of a man. Li Ting's expression was calm, but his heart was pounding. Had Li Xianxian broken up with Mo Baichuan because of him? Mo Baichuan lit a cigarette. Nowadays we advocate for freedom in love. If she doesn't want to, I can't force her. Li Ting sighed and a flicker of excitement appeared in his eyes. After leaving Mo Baichuan, Li Ting could hardly wait to find Li Xianxian. Xianxian, did you break up with Baichuan? Li Ting looked at Li Xianxian. Yes. Li Xianxian nodded. Xianxian, did you break up with him because of me? Li Ting asked excitedly. Li Xianxian bit her lip and then said, Tingji, I admit I did have a little interest in you, but I like Baichuan more. A heart can only love one person, so, I'm sorry, Tingji. I want to marry Baichuan, could you please help me again? When she said the last sentence, Li Xianxian held Li Ting's hand and looked deeply into his eyes. Li Ting looked at Li Xianxian, his eyes brimming with affection. He couldn't refuse Li Xianxian this way. As long as he knew she was even a little fond of him, he would be satisfied. In that moment he was ready to go through hell and high water for her. All right. Li Ting nodded. Li Xianxian said gratefully, Tingji, thank you. I owe you in this life. In the next one I will definitely marry you. Really? Li Ting looked up, surprised. He never expected Li Xianxian to be so deep and sincere. He had indeed chosen the right person to love. Chapter 443. Boss, I am a person who loves to idle away his time. Help me one more time _5. For real. Li Xianxian stretched out her hand protectively around Li Tingji, whispering her plan into his ear. Li Tingji's body stiffened, his face unreadable. After a long moment he said, Don't worry, Xianxian. I will make sure you get to marry Mo Baichuan as you wish. News of Mo Baichuan's breakup with Li Xianxian quickly spread through their social circles. The person who was most delighted at hearing this news was none other than Zheng Xianjing. What made Li Xianxian believe she was fit to be with Mo Baichuan? What has you in such high spirits? Zheng Lingling came in from outside. Mom, I have great news. Mo Baichuan has broken up with Li Xianxian. Before Zheng Lingling, Zheng Xianjing never hid her ambitions, because they were two peas in a pod. So what if they broke up? Surely there's nothing worth celebrate about that. Even without Mo Baichuan there is still Song Beiqing. His family background is no worse than Mo Baichuan's. Moreover, I heard that Song family is about to get another promotion. By then their power will be even greater. Zheng Lingling paused, then continued, So Xianjing, I advise you to focus your energy on Song Beiqing. He's the only heir of the Song family. Zheng Xianjing grinned, Mom, you're just seeing the surface. To me, 100 Song Beiqing would not compare to one Mo Baichuan. What's so great about the Song family's power? Could they be greater than Mr. Mog? Zheng Xianjing remained clear-headed. Zheng Lingling poked Zheng Xianjing's head in exasperation. What is with you? First Mo Qishan, now Mo Baichuan. Can't you just leave Mo family alone? Without pausing, Zheng Lingling continued, Though Mo Baichuan is indeed not bad, he is slightly inferior to his cousin, Song Beiqing. Zheng Xianjing laughed. Falling for a piece of waste in the past was a mistake of mine, but rest assured, I have a keen eye for the truth this time, and I will not make the same mistake again. Zheng Lingling, not being a fool herself, continued, Xianjing, are you hiding something from me? Zheng Xianjing looked as if she wanted to say something but held back. Mom, if I tell you, you can't tell anyone else. Zheng Lingling rolled her eyes. Don't tell me you don't trust your own mother. Zheng Xianjing revealed her suspicions to Zheng Lingling. Zheng Lingling took a while to recover from the shock. Mr. Mog. It's Mr. Mog. She had not seen it coming that Mr. Mog, so mysterious and unpredictable, was actually Mo Baichuan, whom she had watched grow up. Xianjing, are you certain you're not mistaken? Zheng Lingling questioned. Zheng Xianjing replied, I am sure. I initially thought Mr. Mog was the worthless Mo Qishan, that's why she left the rest unsaid. Zheng Lingling snorted, that useless person Mo Qishan, isn't even worthy to shine Mr. Mog's shoes. Exactly, Zheng Xianjing sighed regretfully. I was so foolish to waste so much time on such a loser. I almost overlooked the real Mr. Mog. I was lucky to uncover the truth in time. Every time she thought about this, Zheng Xianjing felt extremely fortunate. Zheng Lingling continued, Baichuan has certainly played his cards close to his chest. Who can disagree? Zheng Xianjing nodded. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, who would have believed that he is Mr. Mog? Zheng Lingling frowned slightly, looking worried. Xianjing, I've heard rumors that Zhao Jingrong of the Zhao family has declared that she won't marry anyone but Mr. Mog. You will need to keep an eye on her so she doesn't steal Baichuan away. The influence of the Zhao family in Beijing far exceeds that of the Mo family and the Zheng family. Otherwise, Zhao Jingrong wouldn't be so bold to ditch Mo Qishan at will. Moreover, Zhao Jingrong not only boasts a prestigious family background but is also pretty and well-educated overseas. These exceptional attributes make her a force to be reckoned with. Zheng Xianjing laughed. Mom, you can rest easy. Zhao Jingrong still doesn't know that Mo Baichuan is Mr. Mog. And even if she did, would Mo Baichuan marry someone who almost became his aunt through marriage with Mo Qishan? Even if Zhao Jingrong loses her dignity, the Mo family would still want to keep their face. Zheng Xianjing was not worried about Zhao Jingrong, as she had no upper hand at all in front of Mo Baichuan. Chapter 444. Big Brother. I am a person who loves to idle away his time. Help me one more time _6. Mr. Mog isn't someone she can decide to marry just because she said so. On the contrary, Zheng Xianjing was a bit worried about Li Xianxian. After all, she had once been in a relationship with Mo Baichuan. Zheng Xianjing shared her concerns with Zheng Lingling. Zheng Lingling laughed and said, Xianjing, don't worry at all. I heard from your grandmother Mo before that they were not very satisfied with Li Xianxian, saying she's not good enough. Besides, they've already broken up. What else do you have to worry about? Hearing Zheng Lingling's words, Zheng Xianjing felt much less worried. Zheng Lingling continued, Xianjing, your most important task now is to win over Baichuan's heart, make him notice you, be fond of you and want to marry you. To be Mrs. Mog, you can't just stay at home all day. Zheng Xianjing laughed, Mom, I understand what you mean. Zheng Lingling said, since you understand, why not get dressed up and go find Baichuan? As the saying goes, familiarity breeds affection, feelings between a man and a woman are gradually built over time. Zheng Xianjing nodded in agreement. Yang has been settled in the restaurant for a week now, and hasn't started the renovation because they were waiting for an auspicious time. Today is a good day. Early in the morning, Wang Tiniu brought a group of people to the front of the restaurant. In addition to local labor, Wang Tiniu also called many people from neighboring villages. Consequently, Yang not only became the lucky star of Jinghua village, but also that of neighboring villages, and many people dreamt of moving to Jinghua village. It's important to know that Jinghua village's economy now far outstrips a few neighboring villages, and Yang's fame as a lucky star is spreading further and further. Before starting the renovation, Yang set off a string of firecrackers to bring good fortune. Wang Tiniu, with the blueprint in hand, was telling everyone where to start the renovation. The blueprint was designed by Yang herself, based primarily on traditional Chinese elements. In today's Beijing, there are Japanese restaurants and Western restaurants, but there is no restaurant that promotes the beauty of traditional Chinese culture. Although the decor of Japanese restaurants is quite classical, it belongs to Japan's own classical style, which has nothing to do with China. Yang now not only wants to expand her skincare business abroad, but also to export traditional Chinese culture through the restaurant industry, so that people all over the world can feel the charm of traditional Chinese culture. Yang, is this a column? Wang Tiniu asked, pointing at a black dot on the blueprint. That spot on the design seemed to be blurred by a water droplet. However, as the designer, Yang knew clearly every detail on the blueprint. Uncle Tiniu, this is a screen. It was fortunate that Wang Tiniu was attentive, otherwise if he had built a column, the consequences would be unthinkable. Wang Tiniu nodded, oh I see. Miss are you starting the renovation today? A gentle male voice came from outside the door. Yang turned around and saw that it was Chen Jitsong, the former owner of the restaurant. Mr. Chen. Yang nodded slightly. Chen Jitsong said, I was just passing by and saw the door open, so I came in for a look. This was where he started his first business and also the last, so his sentimental attachment was understandable. Yang smiled faintly, while this place hasn't changed much, would you like to take a photo to reminisce about it, Mr. Chen? Chen Zikang's eyes lit up, that's a great idea. He then said, Miss wait for me, I'll go get my camera. Sure. Yang nodded slightly. Shortly after, Chen Jitsong came back with a camera. In this era, a camera is a rare commodity. It costs more than 5,000 yuan to buy one. Ordinary farmers can't even afford to glance at it, let alone buy one, so everyone surrounded to see it out of curiosity. This is a camera? This small thing can really capture images of people? This camera looks different from the ones I've seen in photo studios. Chen Jitsong kindly explained the principles of the camera to everyone, finally suggesting, how about I take a group photo for everyone? Great. Everyone was thrilled. It cost 1 yuan for a photo in a photography studio. Ordinary families couldn't afford to do so. Chen Jitsong held the camera and asked, Miss would you like to take a group photo with everyone? Upon hearing this, everyone urged, Yang, come and take a photo. It's rare for us to have a group photo together. Yang wasn't originally interested in taking photos, but seeing everyone's enthusiasm, she walked over. Standing in the crowd, she felt an obvious sense of standing out from the crowd. Chen Jitsong looked at her through the lens, his heart involuntarily quickened. He had never seen a girl who looked so good under the lens. Some girls, though beautiful, do not photograph well. But Yang was different. She was not only beautiful in real life, but also very photogenic. Click. Qin Jitsong reluctantly pressed the shutter because only when taking photos could he daringly gaze at Ni Yang. After the photo was taken, everyone began to disperse. Qin Jitsong looked at Ni Yang and tentatively asked, "Miss Ni, would you mind if I took a picture with you?" Ni Yang smiled lightly. "I'm sorry, I do mind. I'm afraid my boyfriend might misunderstand." Ni Yang wasn't the type to remain ambiguous. A photo of a man and a woman together would easily lead to misunderstandings. Has a boyfriend already? Qin Zikang's expression dimmed somewhat. God knows which man had such good fortune to be Ni Yang's boyfriend. Qin Jitsong laughed. "It's okay, your concern is very reasonable. Could I trouble Miss Ni to take a few pictures of me?" "I can do that." Ni Yang took the camera and took several photos of Qin Jitsong. "I'm not very good at taking photos, I hope you won't mind, Mr. Qin." Qin Jitsong responded, "How could I? I should be thanking Miss Ni." "You're welcome." After exchanging some pleasantries, Qin Jitsong proposed to leave. Ni Yang didn't stay long at the restaurant either, but went to the detective agency instead. Now Xiaozhou regarded Ni Yang as her best friend. Because Ni Yang was generous, reasonable, knowledgeable and beautiful, she was a person worth getting to know. Yang. As soon as Ni Yang entered the detective agency, Xiaozhou came to greet her. Ni Yang followed Xiaozhou to the VIP room inside. "Xiaozhou, do you have any recent news about Xianxia?" Ni Yang is a person who thinks ahead. She would not forget the ticking time bomb Xianxia just because she was comfortable for a moment. Chapter 445. She is the person I'm looking for. _1. Xiaozhou had been keeping a close eye on Xianxia. He poured a cup of tea for Ni Yang, then said, "She hasn't made any big moves. Just that she recently broke up with Mo Baichuan." Regarding Xianxia, this seemed to be the only significant recent event. Broke up. Ni Yang raised an eyebrow slightly. Xiaozhou nodded, and it was Xianxia who initiated the breakup. This move was somewhat confusing. Xianxia had gone to great lengths to get close to the Mo family, finally becoming Mo Baichuan's girlfriend. Would she so casually break up? Unless there was a bigger plot behind it. Ni Yang narrowed her eyes slightly, then asked, "Are there any other news aside from these?" Xiaozhou paused to think, then said, "Additionally, I noticed recently that Xianxia and Li Ting have been meeting each other quite frequently." Li Ting? Ni Yang had had contact with Li Ting before, so she knew that he had a crush on Xianxia. Even though the Li family was wealthy, it couldn't compare to the Mo family. Ni Yang didn't think that Xianxia would give up on Mo Baichuan for Li Ting. It was now a critical time for Li Xiangxian's breakup with Mo Baichuan. Why would she be meeting with Li Ting so frequently? Was she planning to use Li Ting to achieve her goal? Given Li Xiangxian's character, it wasn't impossible. Ni Yang had her answer in mind, then she said, "Xiaozhou, could you please keep a close eye on Li Xiangxian's movements these few days for me? If there's anything unusual, let me know immediately." "All right." Xiaozhou nodded. Yang, don't worry about me." Ni Yang took out 800 yuan from her bag and gave it to Xiaozhou. "Then he'll have to trouble you." Xiaozhou refused. Yang, we're friends, mentioning money feels too crude." Ni Yang laughed. "Even blood brothers keep clear accounts. If you don't accept it, I would feel bad asking for your help next time." Building connections with a detective wasn't easy. Ni Yang never wanted to take advantage of anyone. Hearing this, Xiaozhou had no choice but to take it. After leaving the detective agency, Ni Yang rode her bike to the noodle restaurant. Just after crossing an intersection, she saw a group of people huddled at the roadside, whispering about something. The poor old lady. Did she come out alone? Does anyone recognize this old lady? Let's contact her family quickly. Is there a doctor among us? The 80s were a relatively pure era. No one was trying to scam anyone yet. Everyone was genuinely concerned when they saw an old lady faint. On a quick glance, Ni Yang saw a familiar face. Was that Mrs. Shangguan? Ni Yang quickly stopped her bicycle and walked into the crowd. "I'm a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine, excuse me." Upon hearing the arrival of a doctor, the crowd immediately gave way to Ni Yang. Mrs. Shangguan's face was pale, her lips dark. Ni Yang preliminary diagnosed her fainting was due to a sudden heart attack. Ni Yang didn't have any herbs on hand, so she could only take out her acupuncture pouch meant for self-defense. She inserted a few needles into various acupoints on Mrs. Shangguan. As she knelt on the ground, seriously and earnestly performing the acupuncture, the surrounding crowd gasped in awe. performing acupuncture. People had seen it on television but never in real life. Watching this in person was far more shocking than seeing it on a TV screen. However, Yang was still too young. In front of the crowd, she lacked credibility. In everyone's minds, traditional Chinese doctors were usually white-haired, bearded old men. The girl in front of them was just a child. Was she just fooling around? The more the crowd thought about it, the more they doubted Yang. Whispers started circulating. A middle-aged man stepped forward. "Young lady, you can't just insert needles randomly. If anything happens to the old lady, who will be responsible?" "Exactly. Young lady, did you graduate from a medical university? Do you have a practicing certificate?" The crowd chimed in, concerned for Mrs. Shangguan. As Yang continued the acupuncture, she said, "Everyone rest assured, my family has practiced traditional Chinese medicine for generations. Acupuncture is simply a basic skill, there won't be any mistakes." "Young lady, are you sure this will work?" "Young lady, if anything happens to the old lady, you won't be able to leave." Yang smiled faintly. "With so many of us present, even if I wanted to, where could I run off to?" Chapter 446. She is the person I'm looking for. _2. Everyone saw that Yang indeed had a point. They didn't try to stop her, but they warned, "Young lady, we need to be clear up front. If there are any unforeseen incidents, don't blame us for not warning you." Yang responded, "Everyone rest assured, I take responsibility for my actions." Upon hearing her words, the crowd didn't say much, but kept their eyes fixed on Yang. They wanted to see if she really was as good as she claimed to be. Yang calmly continued her acupuncture. The crowd's attention and questioning didn't affect her at all. She remained composed, poised and casually refined. "Stop the car." A foreign luxury car abruptly stopped at the roadside. In the back seat, a handsome golden-haired, green-eyed foreign man, watching Yang tend to her patient, his eyes full of hope, exclaimed, "Is this traditional Chinese medicine? It's truly amazing." He turned to the beautiful young Chinese woman beside him. "Miss Ji, I believe she's the one I've been looking for." Miss Ji, a strikingly pretty woman, glanced out of the window, her eyes flickering with disgust. Speaking perfect French, she warned, "Mr. Abner, there are numerous talented people in China as well as quite a few charlatans. You're a stranger here, so you must be careful not to be deceived. The atmosphere here has really deteriorated." She had originally planned to introduce Abner to Chinese culture, but never thought that on the first day had witnessed such decay. How embarrassing. Miss Ji frowned deeply. Abner turned to her, incredulous. "You're saying she's a fraud?" Miss Ji nodded. "Chinese medicine works slowly and is only suitable for health maintenance rather than treating illnesses. Western medicine, as we know, accurately targets symptoms and gives quick results. It is so much faster. That's why the Qing dynasty fell so quickly, because of people like this, perpetuating outdated traditions and deceiving others with their smooth talk." By the end, Miss Ji's voice was full of anger. Western medicine is universal and has benefited countless people, yet some remain stubbornly resistant, still asserting the efficacy of Chinese medicine. If Chinese medicine were truly effective, the Qing dynasty would not have fallen so quickly. Miss Ji continued, "Mr. Abner, don't worry, we live in a time where medical technology is incredibly advanced. There will certainly be a doctor who can cure your mother. If even Western medicine couldn't cure an illness, what chance would Chinese medicine have?" Wasn't this a joke? Abner frowned, looking at the beautiful figure in the crowd. How can such a beautiful girl be a fraud? And she's helping someone, which is commendable. Since they were taking a leisurely drive to enjoy the scenery of Beijing, Abner had seen everything unfold before him. When the old woman first collapsed, the crowd that gathered around her had not one doctor. Only Yang stepped forward. In his view, it was pure altruism. How could Yang be a fraud? Miss Ji turned to look at Yang. The young lady appeared about 17 or 18 years old, with delicate features and a complexion as white as snow. Calling her a national beauty would not be an overstatement. What a shame. Eager to achieve fame and prestige, she's completely unaware that the unconscious old woman is on the brink of death. She is as despicable as they come, risking a human life just for recognition. Such deplorable behavior. Disgust was evident in Miss Ji's eyes. Mr. Abner, as a fellow Chinese, I wouldn't slander my own people. In fact, I wish even more than you do that she's not a fraud. Everyone wants people from their country to be strong. Miss Ji sighed deeply, full of frustration. but my recent return here has been complete disappointment. If she could indeed perform medical miracles, that old woman would have awoken by now. But look at her, she's pale with blue lips, clearly beyond saving. The Chinese aren't just disappointing, they're also a disgrace. This reminded her of the sign in the Bun Park during the Republic of China era, saying, "No dogs or Chinese allowed." If the Chinese people continue this decline without aspiration for progress, they are doomed to repeat their past and return to an era of colonization. Oh. After this trip, she needs to hurry up and complete her immigration procedures to become a true citizen of F country. China has let her down too much. If it weren't for that person being in China too, she would never return. Chapter 447. She is the person I'm looking for. _3. Although Miss G expressed complete disdain for traditional Chinese medicine, Abner was not ready to give up. He had been to many countries and China was his only hope. His mother's illness could not be delayed any longer. "Miss G, I think you are biased towards ancient Chinese medical practices. The treatment isn't over yet, and neither of us has the right to judge whether she is a fraud or not." Seeing Abner still stubborn and persistent, Miss G continued, "Mr. Abner, I understand that in your desperation to cure your mother, you would try anything. Let's put aside for the moment whether ancient medicine is effective. But consider her age. Do you think she, merely a child, is capable of performing life-saving surgeries?" He had to concede the point. She was too young. At most 17 or 18 in their country, people of this age are still in high school and haven't even entered college yet. How could such a child possibly have the skills to treat patients and save lives? He must have been insane to believe that this small child possessed medical skills. Abner withdrew his gaze, the fire of hope in his eyes extinguished completely. He looked at Miss G. "Let's go." "All right." Miss G nodded and said to the driver, "Drive to Darue restaurant." The driver started the engine and the black car soon disappeared down the road. 2 minutes after the car left, the previously unconscious old lady Xianxia slowly opened her eyes. The world spun around her, surrounded by faces which made her somewhat dazed. Was she dreaming? "She's awake. She's awake. She's really awake." Excited voices came from the crowd. Turns out the girl does have some real skills. "Old lady, how are you feeling now?" And Yang slowly helped old lady Xianxia up. Old lady Xianxia gradually regained consciousness. Yang, why are you here too?" Someone immediately said, "Old lady, you have to thank this young girl. If it wasn't for her, you would be in danger." Yes, you really need to thank her." The crowd was buzzing and old lady Xianxia understood what had happened. She had suddenly fainted on the road and Yang was passing by and saved her. Yang, thank you." Old lady Xianxia held Yang's hand tightly. Yang smiled and said, "Thank goodness you're okay. I'll take you to the hospital to get checked out just to be safe." Yang had already performed acupuncture on old lady Xianxia, and was certain the addition of Western medical instruments would be doubly effective. These days, Western medicine is popular globally, and people are increasingly dismissing traditional Chinese medicine. Actually, both traditional and Western medicine have their strengths and weaknesses. Traditional medicine treats the root cause, while Western medicine treats the symptoms. Combining the two is the best way to benefit humanity. "Okay." Old lady Xianxia nodded, "I appreciate it, Yang." Yang gently smiled and added, "By the way, where is Xiaoxi today?" Old lady Xianxia replied, "Xiaoxi had something to do today, so he didn't come with me." "Oh." Yang nodded. The hospital was not far from here. Yang helped old lady Xianxia and they arrived at the hospital in no time. No matter the era, hospitals are always crowded. While Yang was registering for a number, old lady Xianxia found a public phone booth on the first floor and made a call. Yang successfully registered and helped old lady Xianxia to the cardiology department. On their way up, she unexpectedly saw a familiar figure in the first floor lobby. Was that Xianxia? Yang squinted. What was she doing at the hospital? And the direction Xianxia was heading towards seemed to be the gynecology and obstetrics department. The gynecology and obstetrics department. Could it be that Xianxia was pregnant? Yang smirked slightly. This was interesting. In a short while, Xianxia appeared in the cardiology department. He ran over, sweat splotches appearing on his forehead, even dampening the tips of his hair. "Grandma, are you okay?" "I'm fine thanks to Yang." "Otherwise, it would have been a real disaster," old lady Xianxia said with a beaming smile. Where is Miss N.I.? Shangguan-su looked around but didn't see N.I. Yang's figure. Old Lady Shangguan replied, Yang went to get my report. Oh. Shangguan-su nodded. While N.I. Yang was fetching the report for Old Lady Shangguan, she also managed to make a trip to the second-floor gynecology and obstetrics department. Over there, she saw Li Xianxian sitting on a blue plastic chair with her Q number. Considering Li Xianxian's current condition, she was very likely to be pregnant. Could the baby be Baichuan's? If Li Xianxian was really pregnant with Baichuan's child, would she still deliberately break up with him and still be entangled with Li Ting? Chapter 448, She is the person I'm looking for. _4. N.I. Yang squinted her eyes and didn't stay on the second floor for too long, quickly returning to the third floor instead. Shangguan-su was accompanying Old Lady Shangguan. When he saw N.I. Yang approaching, he promptly came forward and said, Miss N.I., I can't thank you enough for today. If it weren't for you, my grandmother's life might have been in danger. It was nothing, no need to mention it. N.I. Yang handed the report to Shangguan-su. Since you're here now, I'll be on my way. Shangguan-su continued, You're leaving so soon? Why not join us for a meal? Old Lady Shangguan chimed in, Xiaoxi was right, Yang, you did us a huge favor. It would be improper if you left without having a meal. N.I. Yang replied with a smile, You're being too kind, but I need to attend to a few things at my shop. Goodbye, Old Lady Shangguan, Mr. Shangguan. With these words, N.I. Yang turned and walked away. Watching N.I. Yang's receding figure, Old Lady Shangguan remarked, Yang is really a good child. Shangguan-su watched N.I. Yang's retreating figure in silence. Outside, the sun was bright and slightly scorching. As N.I. Yang walked out of the hospital, she unconsciously raised her hand to shield her forehead from the sun, allowing a sliver of light to penetrate through her fingers, casting a faint shadow on her curled eyelashes. Miss N.I., wait a moment. A gentle male voice sounded behind her. N.I. Yang slightly turned her head, a wisp of hair swept past her lips. Under the sunlight, her clear and sparkling peach blossom eyes were utterly captivating. This was the charm of a woman's graceful turn and enchanting smile. Shangguan-su was briefly stunned. He approached N.I. Yang and handed her 100 yuan note. I forgot to give you the fee for the medicine and registration. N.I. Yang reached out to accept it, smiling. Actually, you didn't have to bother coming all the way here. Old Lady Shangguan and I meet often. Shangguan-su said, My grandmother has poor memory and feared she might forget, which is why she asked me to deliver this to you. N.I. Yang flashed a small smile. It's just a small amount of money, it wouldn't matter even if she forgot. How could that be? Shangguan-su continued, You've already helped my grandmother so much, it's only proper to compensate you for the medical expenses. By the way, did you come on foot? Could I offer you a ride home? N.I. Yang declined with a smile, Thank you, but there's no need, my bike is parked not far from here. With his handsome features, distinguished background, and the prestigious position he held, few women would reject Shangguan-su. Yet N.I. Yang was one of those rare few. Shangguan-su, who had planned to drive N.I. Yang home, was taken aback. He hesitated for a moment before saying, Okay, please be careful on your way. N.I. Yang nodded slightly, I will, goodbye. Goodbye. Shangguan-su waved at her before turning around to walk back into the hospital. When he returned alone, Old Lady Shangguan asked unhappily, Why did you come back alone? Didn't I ask you to accompany Yang home? Shangguan-su replied, She came on her bicycle, so there was no need for me to send her. Old Lady Shangguan shook her head in frustration, You really? This grandson of hers was beyond help. He didn't seize opportunities even laid in front of him. No wonder he was still alone. Shangguan-su changed the subject. By the way, where's Xiaoxi? Isn't she usually the one who accompanies you on these outings? Old Lady Shangguan replied, Xiaoxi went to the mall with your father. Xiaoxi went to the mall with Dad? Shangguan-su asked, taken aback. Your Aunt Lin and her daughter Jianghu are also with them. Old Lady Shangguan continued, Your dad gets along well with your Aunt Lin, who has a daughter 4 years younger than Xiaoxi. Today's outing was mainly to see if Xiaoxi and Jianghu could get along. Despite not having met Lin Fang, Old Lady Shangguan already had a favorable impression of her. After all, Lin Fang had been introduced by one of their own. What does Aunt Lin do? Shangguan-su asked. Old Lady Shangguan replied, She is in the education industry, a kindergarten teacher. Shangguan-su nodded, She must have a lot of love to give. The Shangguan family was renowned, so even though they were considering a second marriage, they couldn't settle for someone mediocre. A profession like a teacher was ideal as it immediately gave the impression of an understanding and empathetic person. It also lent respectability. Old Lady Shangguan continued, she's also of good character. I've heard that after her ex-husband passed away years ago, she kept painstakingly looking after her paralyzed mother-in-law. She is a rare gem of a daughter-in-law. Chapter 449. She is the person I'm looking for. _5. A flash of surprise flickered in Shangguan's eyes. It is indeed a rare occurrence. I don't know how Xiaoxia is getting along with them. Madame Shangguan wasn't worried about this at all. Xiaoxia is very sensible. As long as Jianghu does not object, this matter basically doesn't have any major problems. Speaking of which, Madame Shangguan went on to say, but how about you, Xiaoxiu? Jianghu doesn't have a father anymore. If this matter really succeeds, Jianghu will likely be living in our house in the future. Would you mind having an extra sister? Shangguan Su laughed. The more people at home, the merrier. Of course I wouldn't mind. How old is he? Why would he mind such things? He isn't a child anymore. Madame Shangguan immediately asked. Then what if your dad were to have a child with Aunt Lin? Would you mind then? Although Shangguan Dehui was in his 40s, Lin Fang was only 38 years old. If she wanted to have a child, there would be no pressure to do so. The Shangguan family didn't worry about not having enough money to raise children. Moreover, in this remarried family, if they didn't have a common child, the relationship between the couple would be unstable. Shangguan Su laughed and said, Grandma, you don't need to worry about me. It mainly depends on what my dad thinks. All right. Madame Shangguan nodded. I understand your meaning. Gynecology and Obstetrics Department. Li Xianxian was sitting on a blue plastic chair in the hallway, her expression indecipherable. At this moment, her mind was filled with the doctor's words. You are pregnant. Yes, she was pregnant. Although she had been prepared, she was still heart-achingly excited. A child. She was having a child, she was having Mo Baichuan's child. As long as she had Mo Baichuan's child, she was not afraid of him discovering her secret. Li Xianxian gently touched her flat tummy, almost unable to believe that a small life was growing inside her. After a while, she stood up from the chair and headed towards the hospital exit. Even though she was overjoyed, she didn't show it. She just walked up to the public telephone booth and made a phone call. Today was the day that Lin Fang and her daughter Jianghu were to go shopping at the mall together with Shangguan Dehui and his daughter Shangguan Shi. So Lin Fang and Jianghu made a point to come early. For the meeting today, the mother and daughter had dressed up especially nice. Jianghu put on a dress worth 58 yuan and a pair of real leather shoes. Normally, she could never bear to wear such a dress. But today was different. Today Shangguan Shi was coming as well. Shed heard that Shangguan Shi was not very good looking, so not only did she want to outshine Shangguan Shi in terms of appearance, but she also wanted to dress better than her. She wanted to seem more like a rich heiress than Shangguan Shi. Only then could she leave a good impression on Shangguan Dehui. As Lin Fang was touching up her makeup in front of a mirror, she said, Xiaoye, be sweet when you meet them later. But try not to talk too much when you can just smile. Families like the Shangguans view behavior and speech very importantly. The more you say, the more likely you'll make mistakes. Whether you can become a young lady of a wealthy family and make your way up the social ladder all depends on your performance today. If their meeting today went smoothly, then the next time they meet, Shangguan Dehui would suggest that she meet Madame Shangguan. Once she had met with Madame Shangguan, marriage would not be far off. Therefore, today's meeting was vitally important. Mom, rest assured, Jianghu said with a smile. It'll definitely charm the father and daughter pair so much that they won't know which way is north. Jianghu didn't have many talents, but she was certainly good at flattering and coaxing people. Besides, who wouldn't want such a huge fortune? As long as she performed well, she could marry Shangguan Su in the future and become the lady of the Shangguan family. With this thought, a light filled Jianghu's eyes. Lin Fang nodded with a smile. Emichim, that's my good girl. Jianghu continued, is it only Shangguan Shi coming today? Is Shangguan Su not coming? Lin Fang replied, Shangguan Su is a bank manager, he doesn't have the time to come. You just need to get along with Shangguan Shi. Oh, a flash of disappointment flickered in Jianghu's eyes. As a mother, how can Lin Fang not know what Jianghu was thinking? She put away her makeup mirror and looked at Jianghu. Once your mom successfully marries into the Shangguan family, do you still worry about not having the chance to meet Shangguan Su? Jianghu nodded. You're right, Mom. After a while, the figure of Shangguan de Hui appeared in the distance. As he approached, he greeted them, "Hello, Xiaolin." Chapter 450. She is the person I'm looking for. _6. Here we are. Lin Fang's eyes lit up, pulling Jianghu towards the front and introduced, "Xiaoya, this is your Uncle Shangguan." "Nice to meet you, Uncle Shangguan." Jianghu bowed while searching for the silhouette of Shangguanxi. Where is Shangguanxi? Did she feel so ashamed because she saw how pretty I am so she didn't dare to come? That's too disgusting. And here she is, a little miss. A few ridicules flicker in the depth of Jianghu's eyes. Lin Fang continued, "This is my daughter Jianghu. By the way, where is Xiaoxi? Didn't you say she would come too?" "Hello, Xiaoya." Shangguan de Hui nodded and continued, "Xiaoxi ran into a classmate outside the mall, she should be here soon." "All right." While they were talking, a tall figure in a small suit walked over. "Dad." Shangguan de Hui turned his head. "Xiaoxi, let me introduce you. This is Auntie Lin and this is her daughter Jianghu." Not only is Shangguan's eyes facial features exquisite, her tall figure accentuates her good looks. In her neat short hair and small suit that highlight her figure, her pair of beautiful eyes scan over Lin Fang and Jianghu, projecting great charisma. She is indeed born of a wealthy family. Jianghu, when compared to her, wasn't even fit to hold a candle. The high-spirited Jianghu suddenly became low-spirited after seeing Shangguanxi. "Nice to meet you, Auntie Lin and Xiaoya." Shangguanxi greeted politely. Lin Fang smiled and said, "Xiaoxi, you are so beautiful. Unlike Xiaoya, who has been an ugly duckling since she was little." Shangguanxi said, "That's not true, Auntie Lin is being too humble. Xiaoya is beautiful too." Jianghu greeted formally, "Hello Sister Xiaoxi, Jianghu, just call me Xiaoya." "Okay." Shangguanxi tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. As she moved, a jade bracelet on her wrist became visible. Jianghu's eyes almost popped out. The jade bracelet was so beautiful. It must be super expensive. Seeing how Shangguanxi was dressed, Jianghu suddenly thought that her own 58 yuan dress was downright shabby. Lin Fang subtly pinched Jianghu's arm and Jianghu withdrew her gaze. They chatted while wandering around the mall. Shangguanxi offered to buy some clothes for Jianghu, but Jianghu politely refused. "Thank you, Sister Xiaoxi, I appreciate your kind gesture. But there's no need to buy clothes. I have enough to wear." Shangguanxi smiled and said, "Just buy a few. Consider it a token of affection from your sister." Jianghu said, "There really is no need. My mother has taught me since childhood to be frugal. As long as I have enough clothes to wear, I shouldn't pursue flamboyancy and beauty." Shangguan de Hui nodded contentedly. It was clear that Lin Fang had raised her daughter well. Shangguanxi was also very pleased with her new sister. After shopping, the four of them went to a restaurant to eat. In order to leave a better impression on Shangguan de Hui and Shangguanxi, Lin Fang secretly paid the bill. The rich sure are rich. A regular meal cost 368 yuan. Thinking about it made Lin Fang's heart ache. But again, if 368 yuan were to be exchanged for a lifetime of wealth, it didn't seem to matter so much. After all, no pain, no gain. When Shangguan de Hui tried to settle the bill and found out that Lin Fang had already paid, he said embarrassingly, "We agreed that it was my treat. How could I let you pay?" Lin Fang laughed and said, "Nowadays we advocate gender equality and freedom of love. If you always pay, wouldn't this contradict the concept of gender equality?" Lin Fang's performance did not go wrong, which satisfied both Shangguan de Hui and Shangguanxi. After the party broke up, Shangguanxi asked straightforwardly, "Dad, when do you plan to marry Auntie Lin?" Shangguan de Hui was taken aback. Although he thought Lin Fang was a great candidate for a wife, he hadn't thought about when to get married, so this question surprised him. Perhaps some dreams and some people should really be forgotten. Shangguanxi continued, "Auntie Lin is really a good person, you should seize this opportunity." Shangguan de Hui nodded, "I know. So you still haven't decided when to get married?" Shangguanxi asked again. Time flies. Her father has been alone for so many years, and now that he has finally met the right person, Shangguanxi really doesn't want him to miss out again. Shangguan de Hui replied, "Your grandma hasn't met Auntie Lin yet. We are not in a hurry for this." Shangguanxi smiled and said, "Don't worry, grandma will definitely like Auntie Lin too." Shangguan de Hui nodded, "When I find the time, I will bring Auntie Lin home to meet your grandma." "Yeah," Shangguanxi held Shangguan de Hui's arm, "as long as you are certain." On this side, as soon as Shangguan de Hui and Shangguanxi left, Jianghu couldn't wait to say, "Mom, how did I do? Wasn't my performance great?" Lin Feng smiled and said, "Very good, it was fabulous." Jianghu continued, "Mom, did you see the clothes and jewelry on Shangguanxi? When you marry into the Shangguan family you can't play favorites. I want the same clothes and jewelry too." Lin Feng tapped Changyu's forehead. "Silly girl, do I still need you to tell me that?" Changyu was overjoyed, her face was full of unhidden smiles, as if she had already become a little princess. On the second day, Xianxia came to a private clinic early in the morning. "Are you sure you want to abort this child?" The private clinic's doctor repeatedly confirmed with Xianxia. "Yes, I'm sure." Xianxia nodded, her face pale. The doctor continued, "Although abortion is a minor surgery, accidents may happen. If no family members can guarantee, I'm afraid we cannot perform the surgery for you." Xianxia said, "I can be my own guarantor." "That's not the way." The doctor shook his head. "If an accident happens during the abortion procedure, it could cost both lives, and the doctor does not dare to take this risk." Unable to find a guarantor, Xianxia had no choice but to find Li Tingji. When Li Tingji received this call, he immediately turned to Mo Baichuan. "Baichuan, has sister-in-law called you?" "You're talking about Xianxia?" Mo Baichuan tuned to look at Li Tingji. "Yes." Li Tingji nodded. Mo Baichuan continued, "What happened to her?" Chapter 451. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. _1. Li Tingji looked at Mo Baichuan and continued, "She's pregnant." These 4 short words made Mo Baichuan flabbergasted. There was a strange silence in the air. After a while, Mo Baichuan finally raised his head. "What did you say?" Li Tingji said word by word, "Your sister-in-law, she's pregnant." "Xianxia is pregnant?" Mo Baichuan could hardly believe his own ears. He was the one who took Li Xianxian's innocence, therefore it was clear who the father of the child was. How could this happen? He thought that he and Li Xianxian would become strangers, but unexpectedly, Li Xianxian was actually pregnant. No wonder Li Xianxian insisted on breaking up with him. So she was holding this card all along. Mo Baichuan's expression became especially ugly. What does she want to do now? Wants me to marry her? Mo Baichuan looked at Li Tingji with blatant scorn in his eyes. Li Tingji frowned. "Baichuan, what do you mean by this?" Mo Baichuan's face turned icy. From the very beginning, was all of this a scheme by Li Xianxian? Li Tingji exploded in anger. "Mo Baichuan, do you still have a conscience? Your sister-in-law has never thought about using the child to blackmail you. She wants to abort the child, and she is now in the hospital because the abortion procedure requires family consent. She has no friends or family in Beijing, so she had to find me. I was going to ask if you still wanted this child because this is your first child. But now it seems that you are just heartless and ungrateful." Li Xianxian had given up so much for Mo Baichuan, but in return she only received suspicion from him. Was it worth it? She wants to abort the child? Mo Baichuan squinted his eyes. The child is the only trump card Li Xianxian holds, would she really want to abort it? Li Tingji tried to calm down, then continued, "Baichuan, I haven't known your sister-in-law for a long time, but I know that she is a really good girl. The child was an accident. If she really wanted to use the child to blackmail you, she wouldn't be in the hospital but she would go to your family, your grandparents. This would be their first great-grandchild. Do you think they would neglect her? But she didn't want to cause you any more trouble, she just wanted to silently abort the child. She didn't even have any family member around who could sign the consent forms, and yet she still had no complaints. But what about you? Instead of understanding her, you question her. Are you being fair to her?" Mo Baichuan remained silent. He was now unsure whether or not Li Xianxian was putting on an act. Li Tingji no longer wasted words with Mo Baichuan and continued, "Your sister-in-law is at the private clinic on Wenan Road number 69. Whether or not you want the child, it's all up to you. As your brother, I have said all I need to say." After saying this, Li Tingji turned and walked away. Mo Baichuan watched Li Tingji's retreating figure, his eyes filled with mixed emotions. He and Li Tingji had been brothers for over 20 years. He knew well that Li Tingji was not the sort of man who couldn't discern right from wrong. Could it be that he was the one who was mistaken? Mo Baichuan absently slumped into a chair, lighting a cigarette. Li Tingji rushed to the hospital without delay. Li Xianxian was sitting on a blue plastic chair, her face a bit pale. "Sister-in-law." Li Tingji managed to say these two words with difficulty. Tingji. Li Xianxian lifted her head, looking behind Li Tingji. Mo Baichuan hadn't come, which was within Li Xianxian's expectations. Mo Baichuan was naturally suspicious. If he had followed Li Tingji here, it would have caused an issue instead. Li Xianxian nodded. I see. I'm sorry. Li Tingji looked full of regret. It was his fault. Li Xianxian had trust in him and he had let her down. It's okay. Li Xianxian managed a bitter smile. Perhaps this is my fate. Fate? She never believed in fate. If she did, she wouldn't have managed to leave the mountains in the first place. She believed that after today her fate would change for the better, bringing prosperity with it. This, Li Tingji wanted to continue but Li Xianxian interrupted him. Go and sign the papers. Okay. Li Tingji nodded and headed towards the doctor's office to sign the paperwork, followed by Li Xianxian. As he was about to sign, he hesitated, looking at Li Xianxian with a wish to say something. The doctor said, I have something to attend to, why don't you two discuss a bit more? Okay, thank you, doctor. Li Tingji quickly expressed his thanks. Chapter 452. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. _2. After the doctor left, Li Ting looked at Li Xianxian, lowering his voice. Xianxian, please keep the child. I am willing to give you and your child a legitimate status. After all, Li Xianxian's first time was with him, which meant the child had a 50% chance of being his. As a potential father, how could he personally end his child's life? He couldn't do it. He couldn't overcome his own emotional barrier. Li Xianxian seemed to have perceived Li Ting's worries. This child is Baichuan's. You are so certain? Li Ting asked. Li Xianxian spoke. I'm the mother of the child and I understand better than anyone else. Tingji, if you wish me happiness, it's best to forget about that night. We are just close friends to each other. Her words served as an indirect reminder to Li Ting that she was the victim that night when he forced himself on her. So, no matter whose child this was, the child's father could only be Mo Baichuan. Li Xianxian was a smart woman. She knew how to keep Li Ting at bay. People say that a woman in love has 0 IQ, but in reality, a man in love can be even more foolish. Like Li Ting. Li Ting sighed. Xianxian, have you really thought it through? Yes. Li Xianxian gave a slight nod. For the one I love, I have no regrets. Li Ting massaged his temple in agony, then signed his name on the guarantee letter. Looking at the signature on the guarantee letter, a calculating expression flashed in Li Xianxian's eyes. After a while the doctor returned. Li Ting handed over the guarantee letter to the doctor. The doctor took the letter. So, have you two decided not to keep the child? You're mistaken, he's my brother, Li Xianxian corrected him. Brother. Hearing this, Li Ting's eyes were full of bitterness. Oh. The doctor nodded, then said, since you've decided, I have to make clear some precautions before the surgery. The abortion might affect your fertility in the future, it could even lead to infertility. Li Xianxian hesitated for a moment, then said, I am willing to take any consequences. All right, the doctor sighed, let's prepare for the operation. Li Ting glanced at Li Xianxian wanting to say something but in the end he remained silent. At the base, Mo Baichuan sat in his office, chain-smoking. In no time at all, the ashtray was filled with cigarette butts. After a while, he picked up the phone and dialed a number. Hello, check on Li Xianxian for me. After all, the child that Li Xianxian was carrying was his. Mo Baichuan couldn't be indifferent. About 10 minutes later, his phone rang again. Mo Baichuan picked up the call with a blank expression. How are things going? Li Xianxian is currently at a private clinic on Wenan Road, lining up for an abortion. Mo Baichuan frowned slightly. Is Li Ting the guarantor? The guarantor is Mr. Li. Is the information accurate? Mo Baichuan asked. The person on the other end of the line confirmed it. The information is accurate. Li Xianxian is scheduled to have the operation in half an hour. Mo Baichuan continued. Keep an eye on her. All right. Soon half an hour passed. The phone rang again. Ms. Li is in the operating room. The cigarette in Mo Baichuan's hand dropped to the floor at that moment. It seemed that Li Xianxian wasn't putting on a show for him. She was truly determined to abort the child. No, he couldn't let this happen. The child was innocent. Mo Baichuan's upbringing taught him that he couldn't commit such a conscienceless act. Li Xianxian lay on the cold operating table. The surgeon was a kind middle-aged woman in her 40s. Holding the surgical instruments, she asked with a tone of reluctance, Miss Li, are you sure about this? Was she really sure? Li Xianxian didn't know. She was gambling. She was gambling that Mo Baichuan would come. If Mo Baichuan didn't come, then all her efforts would have been in vain. Li Xianxian firmly gripped the sheets beneath her. Her knuckles had slowly turned white from the force. Doctor, could you give me a few more minutes to think? All right. The surgeon nodded. Outside. Li Ting sat anxiously on the blue plastic chair. Just then, Mo Baichuan burst in with a group of people. Seeing this, Li Ting's eyes brightened. He quickly stood up and said, Baichuan, you're here. Chapter 453. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. _3. Where is Xianxian? Mo Baichuan's expression was somewhat cold. Li Ting subtly pressed the pager in his pocket. Your sister-in-law has already entered the operating room. The pager is the precursor to the mobile phone, which cannot answer calls but only receives messages. In 1983, the first paging station in the country was opened in Xin City. In 1984, pagers began to appear in Beijing. There are dozens of types of pagers. Some look like a mini diary, small and delicate. Some were as light as a card, very portable. Some were like a ballpoint pen and could be put in the pocket of a jacket. Some were even made into brooches or necklaces and hung in front of the chest. Some were integrated with a watch and worn on the wrist. And the pager of Li Xianxian was similar to a ballpoint pen shape. After receiving Li Ting's message, Li Xianxian's eyes lit up and she said, Doctor, I have made up my mind. Please perform the surgery. Okay. The surgeon picked up the anesthetic injection. As the needle was just entering Li Xianxian's arm, someone kicked the door of the operating room open from outside. Stop. Mo Baichuan directly grabbed the injector. The surgeon was scared. Who are you? This is the operating room, outsiders can't just come in. Out of the way. Mo Baichuan brushed the surgeon aside, lifted Li Xianxian from the operating table and left the room as an assistant followed behind tidying up. Mo Baichuan then took Li Xianxian to a reputable hospital. Dr. Xiaolin, around his mid-20s, was a friend of Mo Baichuan. He patted Mo Baichuan's shoulder and said, Don't worry. There's nothing wrong with the fetus. The mother has been in a coma due to extreme shock. Mo Baichuan then asked, Xiaolin, how long has she been pregnant? Dr. Xiaolin answered, Over 2 weeks, almost 3. Based on calculations, the child was indeed his. Mo Baichuan's expression was indescribable and the crystal-clear face appeared before his eyes. Dr. Xiaolin, curious, asked, By the way, what is your relationship with this pregnant woman? Mo Baichuan didn't want to hide any more and responded, I am the father of the child. Dr. Xiaolin was stunned as if he had heard something incredible. Seriously? Mo Baichuan was known to have a peculiar personality, aloof and did not like mingling with girls. Many had sent him love letters during school, but all were ruthlessly rejected. Upon becoming a high-ranking official, no one could catch Mo Baichuan's eye. But now, someone was actually carrying Mo Baichuan's child. That was simply incredible. Mo Baichuan slightly nodded, yes. Even though he didn't want it to be true, but it was the truth. Dr. Xiaolin then said, Baichuan, you're too much. You got married and didn't invite me. At this time, getting pregnant before marriage was not acceptable, so Dr. Xiaolin naturally assumed that they were already married. Mo Baichuan added, We are not married yet. No way. Dr. Xiaolin looked at him in shock. It was unimaginable that someone so disciplined would do something outrageous. Pregnancy out of wedlock. If it is bigger trouble, it can even be considered a hooligan crime. No, really, Dr. Xiaolin lowered his voice. Brother, what's going on? Mo Baichuan looked impassive. It's not something that can be explained in a few words. Do you plan to marry her? Asked Dr. Xiaolin. Mo Baichuan replied, Barring any unexpected developments, the wedding should occur in the near future. Dr. Xiaolin said with a smile, Don't forget to invite me to the banquet at that time. Okay. Mo Baichuan nodded, but there was no hint of a smile on his face. Marrying Li Xianxian was not about love, but responsibility. The two men chatted as they went outside, oblivious to the fact that Li Xianxian, who should have been unconscious, was now wide awake and filled with a triumphant expression. Had she finally waited for this day? Li Xianxian's hand quietly touched her abdomen. Child, you must make me proud. When Mo Baichuan reappeared in the ward, Li Xianxian was already awake. When she saw Mo Baichuan, she looked surprised and said, Why are you here? She portrayed herself as if she had no clue about anything. If the Oscars were hosting at this moment, Li Xianxian would surely win an award. Mo Baichuan looked at Li Xianxian and said without expression, Li Xianxian, let's get married. Chapter 454. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. _4. Marriage? Li Xianxian furrowed her brows slightly. You already know about it? Yes. Mo Baichuan nodded. We have broken up already. The child inside me has nothing to do with you. I don't need you to be responsible. Please leave. Li Xianxian turned her face away, refusing to look at Mo Baichuan. Apparently he had misjudged Li Xianxian. Guilt clouded Mo Baichuan's face. I've made my decision. We are getting married. I disagree. Li Xianxian bit her lip and continued. Baichuan, you are still young with a prosperous future up ahead. I don't want to trap you with this child. Please leave. I will not marry you. Li Xianxian knew Mo Baichuan too well. She knew what to do to make Mo Baichuan feel even more guilty. If she acted too dramatically at this point, Mo Baichuan would definitely be suspicious. If she flatly refused, Mo Baichuan would also grow suspicious. Therefore, Li Xianxian had to refuse this from the perspective of considering Mo Baichuan's best interest. No man would question a woman who wholeheartedly treated him well. Especially a person as suspicious as Mo Baichuan. It's just a child. It won't affect my future, Mo Baichuan responded indifferently. Li Xianxian continued, I have made up my mind. I am going to abort the child. Baichuan, I can't drag you down because of my selfish love. There aren't many people like Li Xianxian who so selflessly think of the person they love. People eventually have to get married anyway, it's better to choose a virtuous woman like Li Xianxian. These words from Li Xianxian further confirmed Mo Baichuan's desire to marry her. Xianxian, don't worry. I will take responsibility for you and the child. I will give you a complete home in the future. Mo Baichuan held Li Xianxian's hand emotionally. Li Xianxian was extremely excited inside, but showed hesitation on her face. But Mo Baichuan interrupted her directly. No buts. I will call my parents and notify them. By my calculations, they should arrive in Beijing no later than the day after tomorrow. Then I'll take you to meet them. Li Xianxian looked at Mo Baichuan. Baichuan, are you really not going to regret it? I want. Mo Baichuan shook his head. Although Mo Baichuan said he wouldn't regret it, the image of a woman with beautifully painted features appeared once again before his eyes. Yang. If Yang found out about this, she would be heartbroken and might even take drastic actions. But nobody could be blamed for this. He had given Yang opportunities before. It was her who didn't cherish them. Now, it would be useless for Yang to regret. Xiaozhou informed Yang of Li Xianxian's pregnancy as soon as he found out. Yang raised her eyebrows slightly. Is the child Mo Baichuan's? Xiaozhou didn't directly answer her question. Instead he said, I don't know whose child it is. But Mo Baichuan believes it to be his and is even considering marrying Li Xianxian. Is that so? Yang smiled faintly. By the way, Yang, we also bought these pictures from a photography enthusiast. Xiaozhou handed a stack of pictures to Yang. Yang took them and flipped through them one by one, the corner of her mouth curled up faintly. I'll take all of these pictures. How much are they? Xiaozhou chuckled. These pictures are not expensive, and didn't you already pay me before? Yang took out 200 yuan and placed it on the table. Last time was last time, this time is this time. Li Xianxian is getting married. As her sixth aunt, she should prepare a generous gift, of course. She would definitely give Li Xianxian a big surprise on their wedding day. However, Xiaozhou refused. It's only a small favor. You really don't need to be so formal with me, Yang. Yang wasn't the type to take advantage. Laughing, she said, Xiaozhou, just take it. I have something else to ask you for. If you don't accept this, I won't have the heart to ask. Upon hearing this, Xiaozhou had to accept. What else do you need, Yang? Just say it. Yang continued, can you get the Zheng family's contact information from your side? Xiaozhou thought for a while, then said, do you mean the Zheng family that's on good terms with the Mo family? Yang nodded, yes. Xiaozhou said, that's easy. After a pause, he continued, did you know that the Zheng family lost a daughter a long time ago? I'm not sure if they found her. The Zheng family lost a daughter? Yang was surprised. Xiaozhou continued, actually, Zheng Lingling is not the biological daughter of the old Mrs. Zheng. The old Mrs. Zheng's real daughter went missing more than 30 years ago. As it turns out, Zheng Lingling was her sister's daughter. After her sister's family suffered an unexpected tragedy, she entrusted Zheng Lingling to Mrs. Zheng, coincidentally around the same time that Mrs. Zheng's own daughter went missing. Chapter 455. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. _5. Xiaozhou, after all, is a detective, and he has a clear understanding of these matters. Ordinary people can't afford a detective. To do business with the rich, he naturally has to familiarize himself with the details of every high-ranking official and nobleman in Sijio City. Ni Yin was surprised to hear that Zheng Xianjing is not the biological granddaughter of old Madame Zheng. The Mo family exploded at the news of Li Xianxian's pregnancy. In theory, it should be a joyous occasion for Mo Baichuan, who's already in his prime, to have a child. After all, old Master Mo and old Madame Mo are hoping to hold their great-grandchild. However, the problem lies in the fact that the woman got pregnant before marriage, and that woman happens to be Li Xianxian. In the past, the Mo family was quite satisfied with Li Xianxian as a potential daughter-in-law, but lately her behavior has been a disappointment to them. Additionally, Mo Baichuan's parents aren't fond of Li Xianxian. Now that the deed has been done, the Mo family, being the traditional one it is, deeming their reputation and discipline highly, they can't possibly leave the pregnant Li Xianxian unattended, nor could they ever do anything that would risk a life. Mo Rongping and Xiao Jiao rushed to Beijing overnight. Mo Rongping was always a compassionate father, but he looked somewhat unhappy that day. In front of the entire Mo family he made Mo Baichuan kneel. Mo Baichuan knelt down on the spot. Mo Rongping cried out in anger, "Mo Baichuan, I've taught you since you were young that a man should stand tall and be responsible. But look at what you've done. You've completely disgraced the Mo family." Mo Baichuan kept his back straight. "Dad, I know I was wrong. I will take responsibility for Li Xianxian. Where are the family rules? Bring them here." The butler immediately brought a whip. The older generation of the Mo family were all veterans, and they wouldn't hold back when it comes to discipline. With one whip, Mo Baichuan's back tore open with blood pouring out. Mo Rongping was not the least bit distressed and dealt 3 vicious blows. Although old Madame Mo and old Master Mo pitied him, they could not intervene. The atmosphere in the living room was extremely oppressive, and everyone's faces were tense. Everyone was worried for Mo Baichuan, only Mo Qixin seemed relaxed. He lounged on the couch eating sweet grapes, and watched the spectacle unfold almost like a spectacle. He thought to himself, this nephew of his was bound to be killed by his own stupidity one day. As Mo Rongping went to deliver the 4th blow, Xiao Jiao grabbed the whip. "What's done is done, hitting him now won't help anything." Old Madame Mo chimed in, "Xiao Jiao is right, Rongping, even if you beat Baichuan to death now, it wouldn't change the situation. We should discuss when to hold the wedding. Regardless, the child in Xianxian's belly is the first heir of our Mo family. In wealthy households like theirs, the first child always holds significant meaning." Mo Rongping sighed deeply, dropped the whip at hand and continued, "How can we decide this matter unilaterally? We should invite the girl's parents to discuss together." Mo Rongping was not the type of person who disregarded proper etiquette. Old Madame Mo added, "You don't have to worry about that. Xianxian is an orphan without any family. Let Baichuan bring Xianxian here tomorrow." Mo Rongping nodded, "That should be fine." Xiao Jiao said, "Now that she's pregnant, we cannot delay the wedding. The sooner the better, otherwise when she starts to show, others will laugh at our Mo family for lacking discipline and decorum." Originally, Xiao Jiao didn't like Li Xianxian. She thought Li Xianxian was too vain and not a good match for Mo Baichuan. But now, even if she was dissatisfied, she had no choice but to accept it. The next day, Mo Baichuan brought Li Xianxian home to meet his parents. This time, Li Xianxian behaved very well and did not use her pregnancy as an excuse to be difficult, which changed Mo Baichuan's parents' impression of her. Moreover, Li Xianxian is a poor child with no parents. Xiao Jiao held Li Xianxian's hand and said, "Xianxian, the first 3 months of pregnancy are the most critical. You must take care of your health, avoid catching a cold or taking medications, avoid getting angry, maintain a happy mood, and also be careful with your diet. You cannot have hawthorn, spinach, strong tea or coffee." Li Xianxian doesn't have a mother, so these things must be taught by her mother-in-law. Li Xianxian nodded obediently, "Okay auntie, I'll keep that in mind." Xiao Jiao was fairly satisfied with her future daughter-in-law. She continued, "Now that you're carrying a child, It's not appropriate for you to stay in a dormitory. I have a small villa on Hully Mile Road, where you can stay temporarily during this time. You're tuning in to the Phantom Sword Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.